Hey everyone, I sincerely appreciate your support. If you enjoy my audiobooks, I would be truly grateful if you could subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to support even further, you're welcome to become a Patreon member, where you can access audiobooks of novels as long as they are freely available on the internet. Your kindness and support mean so much. Thank you.
Thunder rumbled, and Thunder Shockblade Venerate shouted loudly, "Let's fight!" With three roars, his momentum became increasingly terrifying. Even Town North King nodded approvingly. Yet, True Man Tianjian continued to watch coldly and ruthlessly. In an instant, Thunder Shockblade Venerate finally moved. Feeling slighted by True Man Tianjian, he held in a breath of fury, determined to make him pay. Grasping the heavenly Thunderblade with both hands, he slashed downwards, unleashing a terrifying blade intent mixed with endless lightning. A Blade Chi Thunder Dragon appeared in everyone's eyes, and wherever the Thunder Dragon passed, everything was annihilated, causing the mountains surrounding True Martial Mountain to tremble. Ning Qi nodded slowly. Indeed, some skill. If separated by thousands of feet in the rear mountain, it would truly be difficult to suppress him easily. After all, the power of the sword Qi would be greatly diminished. He revealed the formless gang body to tell everyone not to bother him in the future. The Thunder Dragon Blade Qi roared through the air, while True Man Tianjin's Taoist robe billowed without wind. At such a close distance, Ning Qi had the ability to resonate and control everything. In a moment, the innate sword body activated, the unparalleled secret technique realized from Zhuang Qin's interior innate sword bone shone brightly. True Man Tianjian stood with hands behind his back. The sword intent, containing unparalleled sharpness, fully revealed itself. Streams of invisible sword Qi surrounded True Man Tianjian, like countless divine swords, empowered by the sword intent enough to cut through the void. In the eyes of everyone's astonishment, the domineering Thunder Dragon disintegrated like thin paper. It was as if it collided with an invisible forest of swords, instantly turning in a scattered blade Qi that spread in all directions. The strong warriors quietly exclaimed. It felt somewhat incredible. Thunder Shockblade Venerate's strongest strike was thus annihilated. Thunder Shockblade Venerate's pupils contracted sharply, barely able to believe his eyes. Only he knew how powerful that blade was. It was nearly his ultimate strike. He had prepared to make True Man Tianjian pay for his contempt, yet it was destroyed so easily. For a moment, he felt a chill. Hard to imagine how strong True Man Tianjian was. But this fright lasted less than a breath. He froze completely. An extremely terrifying sword intent had locked onto him. The always indifferent True Man Tianjian finally uttered his first word. Slash. As the word fell, he slightly pointed. An unparalleled celestial sword, emanating incredible sharpness, condensed and emerged. Its awe-inspiring sword intent erupted without restraint. Pure sword intent, pure sword Qi, without any impurities. Snake Granny's voice revealed solemnity. At this moment, she was completely sure that the one who annihilated the stronghold was definitely not True Man Tianjian. But her heart was still unsettled. She felt that if she faced this sword, she probably couldn't resist. The Saintess of Southern Border didn't speak. Her eyes trembled slightly. Under everyone's gaze, the celestial sword stretched across the sky, then split into 3 and 3 into 9. That unparalleled sword intent not only showed no signs of weakening, but grew even stronger as 9 celestial swords stretched across the sky. This scene was one that some would remember for life. Taoist Longshan and several true disciples were somewhat dumbfounded. Feeling this scene was familiar. Ning Qi smirked inwardly. This was his realization from true martial inheritance, applied to the heavenly sword technique, allowing for various transformations. The initial true martial inheritance consisted of the true martial 9 stances. Later, combining 9 into 3, formed the heaven-shaking, earth-shaking, and sea-covering 3 stacking strength techniques with true gang techniques, reaching the celestial human realm, which became the 3 elements secret record. Thus, combining 9 into 3, 3 into 1. Supplemented by a secret technique, it created the scenario where the 9 great celestial beings could battle a martial saint, as recorded back then. Today, Ning Qi reversed and applied it to the heavenly sword technique, resulting in a miraculous effect. Thunder Shockblade Venerate was already trembling. The 9 celestial swords had completely locked him down, their sharpness suffocating him. If not inappropriate for the occasion, he would have already fled in panic. But at this moment, if he fled without fighting, his centuries' worth of reputation would be completely ruined. The celestial sword pressed down. He gritted his teeth and shouted angrily, wildly swinging the heavenly thunderblade in his hands. Streaks of thunder, dragon, soared skyward, trying to devour the celestial sword. Under extreme pressure, Thunder Shockblade Venerate unexpectedly had another breakthrough. He was like a madman, continuously swinging his blade, resonating the power of heaven and earth to the utmost, breaking the limit that hadn't been surpassed for decades. Dragons danced wildly. Celestial swords stretched across the sky. The spectacle stunned everyone. But it was useless. The sharpness of the celestial sword overshadowed everything. One after another, thunder dragons were annihilated, and only 4 words flashed in everyone's mind: overwhelming destruction. Indeed, it was overwhelming destruction, with no resistance whatsoever. Everyone was shocked, watching Thunder Shockblade Venerate being engulfed by the celestial swords. Countless blade men were speechless. They had come with high hopes, but now one by one were utterly despondent, with a very few fixated, hoping for a miracle. But the disgraced figure falling from the sky dashed their last hope. At this moment, Thunder Shockblade Venerate looked disheveled, his face pale, his aura withered to the utmost. Supporting himself on the heavenly thunderblade, he stood trembling, his left arm severed cleanly and obliterated into powder by the sword Qi. The world was silent. Everyone knew Thunder Shockblade Venerate was defeated, and thoroughly. Many revered gazes turned to the Taoist robe figure above the sky, quickly lowering their heads, not daring to look directly. The blade men were dejected, but no one blamed Thunder Shockblade Venerate. Everyone could see it wasn't that Thunder Shockblade Venerate was too weak, but that true man Tianjin was too strong, terrifyingly strong. The swordsmen rejoiced, faces filled with jubilant smiles. Luofu, Sword Venerate's face was somewhat unsightly. Who on earth ranked this celestial being list? Are you telling me this is the strength of the 36th on the celestial being list? He felt that if Thunder Shockblade Venerate was replaced with himself, he might also lose. The sword intent just now made his heart pound with fear. This true man Tianjin seemed like a madman who was purely obsessed with the sword, with an incomprehensibly pure sword intent. He recalled his actions a few days ago on True Martial Mountain. His mouth twitched, feeling inexplicably like a clown, and a trace of regret rose in his heart. Such thoughts were not uncommon among people like Luofu Sword Venerate, especially those celestial human realm experts, all of whom felt the same. Thunder Shockblade Venerate felt the weakness in his body, especially his empty left arm, and his heart was extremely bitter, but he harbored no hatred. Instead, he felt grateful. He took a deep breath and said bitterly, "Thunderlay thanks Taoist brother for showing mercy. That sword just now could have easily killed him, but in the end, it only cut off one of his arms and then dispersed. He naturally understood that the other party didn't want to strike a fatal blow." Ning Qi's face was calm. In front of everyone, it was indeed inappropriate to kill. After all, Thunder Shockblade Venerate, in some sense, came representing all the blade man in the world. If he was killed, some people might take the opportunity to make trouble. Ning Qi feared very few, but among the blade man, there was a blade demon with a cunning manner, the 3rd rank on the celestial being list, which made Ning Qi a bit apprehensive, so he chose to show restraint. Of course, if Thunder Shockblade Venerate were unwise, he wouldn't mind finding time to resolve it later. At present, it seems that this blade Venerate still had some sense of clarity. Taoist brother Tianjin's gaze remained as indifferent as ever. Thunder Shockblade Venerate trembled slightly, the bitterness in the corner of his mouth growing stronger. He looked reluctantly at the heavenly thunder blade in his hand. He had challenged because of this unparalleled treasure blade, but now, before it even warmed in his hand, he had to give it to someone else. He had come voluntarily to challenge, and now that he had been defeated and spared, he naturally couldn't avoid offering some compensation. Thunder Shockblade Venerate made up his mind, his voice echoing across the sky. I came to challenge, but my skills were inferior. I offer this blade to thank Taoist Brother for sparing me. Everyone was astonished. Just saw the heavenly thunderblade in Thunder Shockblade Venerate's hand rise into the air. In the blink of an eye, it hovered before Taoist Brother Tianjian, slightly humming, with thunder hidden on the blade, as if it were emanating a submissive intent. A glimmer of surprise flashed in Ning Qi's eyes. When Thunder Shockblade Venerate made his move just now, Ning Qi had observed carefully this heavenly thunderblade was indeed a peerless treasure blade, with special materials seemingly able to channel thunderous power. If studied carefully, it would surely yield fruitful results, just like the previous Cyan profound treasure armor. He did not stand on ceremony. If he didn't demand some price, wouldn't that mean any Tom, Dick, or Harry could challenge him in the future? With a thought, Taoist Brother Tianjian waved his sleeve, with sword intent brushing over the heavenly thunderblade, letting it rest by his side. Seeing the treasure blade in someone else's hands, Thunder Shockblade Venerate felt even more conflicted, like handing his wife to another with his own hands. But since Taoist Brother Tianjian accepted the heavenly thunderblade, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Yet looking at Taoist Brother Tianjian's eyes devoid of any emotion, he couldn't help but feel a chill, thinking for a moment before speaking again. Taoist Brother Tianjian, upon returning to the manor, I will have someone send my Thundershock secret record as an apology. Everyone looked complicated in expression, knowing that Thunder Shockblade Venerate was evidently frightened into submission, wanting to calm the storm and extinguish Taoist Brother Tianjian's anger with this gesture. For in that battle, just now, perhaps only Thunder Shockblade Venerate himself could truly perceive the terror of those 9 celestial swords. It was normal to compensate with treasures after being defeated in an active challenge. However, it was rare for someone like Thunder Shockblade Venerate to not only give a blade, but also martial arts. This also indirectly demonstrated the immense strength of Taoist Brother Tianjian. Taoist Brother Tianjian nodded slowly for the first time. Some even seemed to see that always indifferent expression soften a bit, greatly easing Thunder Shockblade Venerate's tense heart. Otherwise, if he couldn't quell the anger of Taoist Brother Tianjian, and ended up being cut down later with a single sword, who would listen to his grievances? From start to finish, besides the word cut, Taoist Brother Tianjian hadn't uttered another word. After nodding, Taoist Brother Tianjian moved suddenly. The heavenly thunderblade beside him burst into dazzling light, seemingly even more terrifying than when in Thunder Shockblade Venerate's hands. Everyone's expression tensed, and Thunder Shockblade Venerate felt a bit panicked. Could it be that Taoist Brother Tianjian was still unsatisfied after taking the heavenly thunderblade? But quickly, everyone was dumbfounded, only to see Taoist Brother Tianjian using the blade as a sword. The heavenly thunderblade emitted unmatched sword intent, diving downward like a mighty sword river of thunder, sweeping over thousands of feet. In everyone's eyes, the heavenly thunderblade struck upon a huge boulder dozens of feet before the true Marshall Mountain Gate, swirling with draconic elegance. The sky filled with purple glow obscuring all view. When the purple glow faded, the heavenly thunderblade rose up, landing alongside Taoist Brother Tianjian on the true Marshall Rear Mountain, without any further ripple. Everyone looked towards where the boulder had been. They couldn't help but feel invigorated. The dozens of feet of boulder had vanished, replaced by a sword steel standing where it once was. On it were only 2 simple words: True Martial, each stroke simple, yet filled with potent sword intent. Someone couldn't help but focus their gaze, and in a moment of unpreparedness, felt like their spirit was cleaved by a heavenly sword, struck into chaos, their mind a blank slate. If there was no malice, it was merely skin turning pale and heart trembling in shock. But if there was, their eyes were stabbed by the sword intent, bleeding endlessly. All the swordsmen were dumbfounded. The sword intent within the sword monument made them look up in reverence. The true martial sword monument? What a heavenly sword, true man. The town North King couldn't help but speak in praise. There was admiration in his eyes. He was one of the few who could fully sense the complete sword intent of the true martial sword monument. He had a premonition that this monument would become famous across the world, becoming a holy site for all swordsmen to pay homage. As long as one harbors no malice, they can comprehend the sword Tao from this monument. What grand gesture is this, to offer such favor to the world's swordsmen? He was completely unafraid of others learning his sword Tao. The town North King sighed inwardly. It's a pity that this heavenly sword true man seems to have little time left. Otherwise, with such unparalleled sword intent, it would be highly likely for him to climb to the top 3 of the celestial being list in the future. He speculated that the heavenly sword true man was probably one obsessed with the sword, perhaps someone who had an enlightenment late in life. Across the world, his sword intent was almost unmatched, though his cultivation realm was somewhat lacking. Snake Granny looked at the sword monument and confidently shook her head to the southern border saintess. Such ultimate sword intent can only be wielded by those who are extremely devoted to the sword. Poisonous power? It would only contaminate their path. From today's observation, though the heavenly sword true man has the strength to easily kill the fat and skinny elders, he obviously was not the one who did it. The southern border saintess also nodded. She glanced deeply at the true martial sword monument. Although interested in a closer look, with so many people around, her presence would draw unnecessary attention. Being able to witness such a grand battle is already worthwhile. From now on, just focus on the demon Sect. She was quick-witted, already understanding why the heavenly sword true man erected this sword monument. Reflecting on past events, she realized that the heavenly sword true man must be someone who greatly dislikes trouble. Forced to act today, he stunned the world with a single move, causing the thunder shock blade venerate to bow in submission, ensuring that those with discernment would not challenge him freely from now on. But not everyone may be tactful. Erecting this true martial sword monument tells others that by seeing this sword intent, they should know to retreat. The crowd also understood the intention of the heavenly sword true man. They marveled. The sound of discussions echoed all around. The swordsmen's gazes were incredibly fervent, looking at the true martial sword monument with eagerness. The unparalleled sword intent within it moved them. Witnessing the might of the heavenly sword in person today, even comprehending a tiny fraction would be immensely beneficial. However, since this true martial sword monument was erected by the heavenly sword true man, whether they could comprehend it was uncertain. Eager eyes turned toward the members of the true martial sect. Ning Qi chuckled to himself. Erecting this true martial sword monument was not a spur-of-the-moment decision, but something he had long considered. Avoiding trouble by deterring other challengers is just one aspect, perhaps even the least important part. More importantly, Ning Qi wanted to add another layer of protection for the true martial sect. This monument combined Ning Qi's research in Shiman techniques. The sword intent within, if triggered, could unleash the might of the heavenly sword technique several times, which might have wondrous effects. There might also be times when Ning Qi is not on true martial mountain. Furthermore, Ning Qi had no intention for this true martial sword monument to be exclusive to the true martial sect. Disciples could of course have priority to comprehend it, but some seats would also be open to outsiders. Thus, he confidently believed that before long, the site of the true martial sword monument would become a swordman's holy land, attracting many powerful swordsmen, even those of the celestial human realm. Consider this. If these powerful swordsmen comprehend the sword intent, owing a favor to the heavenly sword true man, how could they stand idly by if the true martial sect faces crisis? In this way, the safety of the true martial sect would be greatly enhanced without formality. With the current situation growing more chaotic, Ning Qi felt the need to add another layer of insurance for the true martial sect. If there were such a swordsman moat, then whether it be the Demon Sect or the Southern Border Alliance, they'd have to think twice before making a move against the true martial sect. Finally, the most important reason of all is Ning Qi's own idea. He wanted to conduct an experiment, erecting the true martial sword monument, and even revealing his sword intent was Ning Qi's attempt. With his comprehension, to make all ways his own, he needed to harness the wisdom of all beings, Sword Dao being just one of many paths Ning Qi mastered. Now, attracting many swordsmen with the monument was to make the world's Sword Dao his own. Others would naturally reveal their sword intent when comprehending the true martial sword monument, interacting with it, equating to exposing their paths before Ning Qi's eyes. It's about imparting sword intent to beings and receiving their feedback in return. Why isn't Ning Qi afraid of others learning his sword intent? The reason is simple. By the time others have learned it, his sword intent would have assimilated countless nutrients and evolved to an unknown degree. In terms of comprehension, who could surpass Ning Qi? If this experiment succeeds and yields significant results, he would resolutely proceed on the path of making all ways his own, using the wisdom of all beings as fuel to aid him in seeking the great Tao. Ning Qi felt slightly stirred. Without showing any emotion, he transmitted a few words to Taoist Longshan. Taoist Longshan was initially unsure how to handle the true martial sword monument, noticing the fervent gazes of the many swordsmen. Now, with Ning Qi's instruction, he felt reassured. Facing the eyes of the crowd, Taoist Longshan laughed loudly. Today, under the grace of Senior Tianjian, the true martial sword monument is erected here. Thank you for not abandoning it. Any fellow interested in the monument may view it, but remember to act within your limits and avoid self-harm. Soon, our true martial sect will announce the regulations. Please be patient. Such a sword enlightenment holy land must be well managed, lest it devolves into chaos, resulting in more harm than good. Upon hearing Taoist Longshan's promise, all the swordsmen were excited. Cheers erupted. The swordsmen all bowed in the direction where the heavenly sword true man vanished. We thank Senior Tianjian. The other martial artists were envious. The blade men were reddened, each like a defeated rooster. But given their inferior skills, what could they do? They could only watch as the swordsmen gained yet another sword enlightenment holy land. After today's great battle, for at least the next few years, the blademen wouldn't have the courage to compete with the swordsmen. Luofu, sword venerate's lip twitched. Looking at the true martial sword monument, he felt tempted to comprehend it and verify it against his own sword Dao. But having had a recent conflict with the true martial sect, if he now shamelessly went over, wouldn't he be utterly disgraced? In the case of borrowing the sword previously, had the heavenly sword true man lost, the pressure would have been on him. But who would have thought the heavenly sword true man easily subdued the thunder shock blade venerate? He could already foresee how the martial realm would judge him in the future. Luofu, sword venerate, flicked his sleeves and left. Thunder shock blade venerate had a wry smile. He arrived under the spotlight, but now had become a marginal figure. He no longer had the face to remain there, looking complexly towards the rear of true Martial Mountain before quietly leaving. Some blade path powerhouses felt utterly embarrassed and quietly departed. As one after another, these formidable figures disappeared from true Martial City. This battle between blade and sword finally came to a close. In a moment, the names of the heavenly sword true man and the true martial sword monument spread across the world. States of Great Yen all have fervent discussions, especially with the swordsman's facilitation. The details of this battle are magnified infinitely, spread across the land by storytellers. Even towns are aware of this battle. Thunder Shock Blade Venerate summoned heavenly thunder with one blade, transforming into a world-shaking thunder dragon, as if to devour all beings. Yet true man Tianjian, calm and composed, merely pointed lightly, and in an instant 49 celestial swords soared through the sky. In the end, Countless people surround the storyteller, exclaiming in awe, urging him to continue quickly. Celestial sword slashed thunder dragon. Such a scene was astonishing, the earth shattered. Descriptions like these are countless. The news spread from true martial city across Qing state, then expanded to other states. Although that day had countless spectators within the Great Yin dynasty, it was like a drop in the ocean. As tales spread, changes are inevitable. Those who witnessed the battle firsthand only smiled knowingly upon hearing, but their inner shock never dissipated. Anyone who saw that battle knew that true man Tianjin's strength far exceeded his ranking on the celestial being list. This was already everyone's consensus. Major forces almost simultaneously concluded that true man Tianjin possessed top 20 strength on the celestial being list and not the lower end, likely stronger than Luofu, sword venerate. In this battle, Thunder Shock Blade Venerate and True Man Tianjin naturally took center stage, but Luofu Sword Venerate's deeds were secretly spread, causing amusement among those in the know, and naturally, no one dared to spread widely. The influence of a celestial being list ranked 21 unparalleled swordsman is immense. Even these hidden rumors were enough to drive Luofu Sword Venerate insane. After returning to Thundershock Manor, Thundershock Blade Venerate ordered his Thundershock secret record to be sent away. He did not break his promise, nor dared to. Some senior figures in the Blade Path visited. None blamed Thundershock Blade Venerate. Some even offered compensation. After all, it wasn't Thundershock Blade Venerate's incompetence, but the enemy was too strong. Several great Blade Path masters shared their martial arts with Thundershock Blade Venerate. In some sense, he benefited from disaster. Though he lost an arm, he broke through limits during the battle with True Man Tianjin. If he can absorb these Blade Path insights, he can progress further. Next year, returning to the Celestial Being list is inevitable, even advancing a few ranks. During this time, everyone couldn't help but discuss the true martial sword steel, their eyes filled with envy and shock. I saw that true martial sword steel from afar. Originally, it's just an ordinary stone. The reason it transformed is entirely because of true man Tianjin's sword intent, his sword intent. At this point, the senior figure from Blade Path fell silent, expression complex, then continued, too terrifying. These brief, 4 words rendered everyone silent. Someone couldn't help but propose. Why don't we emulate the true martial sword steel? Establish a blade steel for all blade men to comprehend, or else over time, we will be entirely overshadowed by the swordsman. This defeat of Thundershock Blade Venerate instead united blade men like never before. Thundershock Blade Venerate smiled bitterly, shaking his head. We likely can't achieve that. To preserve blade intent for comprehension, only Blade Demon Senior could do it. But Blade Demon Senior is elusive and might not involve himself in such matters. I truly wonder how True Man Tianjin comprehended such unparalleled sword intent, perhaps through sudden enlightenment. If he had stronger cultivation, he might battle Blade Demon Senior in the future. Upon saying this, everyone couldn't help but feel relieved. Thankfully, True Man Tianjin appears aged, or if he reaches the pinnacle of swordsman, they would truly despair. Now, the only thing they can present to counter swordsmen is the third on the celestial being list, Blade Demon. Everyone shook their heads, smiling bitterly, then discussed finding other strategies to counter the existence of the true martial sword steel. For the first time, true martial sect has entered the view of numerous major forces, larger in scale than the previous 2 incidents of celestial sword-slashing demons. After all, the 2 protagonists involved are strong enough for the celestial being list, even at the bottom ranks. Knowing this, there are only 36 such strongmen publicly known in Great Yin. Moreover, it symbolizes the conflict between blade and sword. Great Yin Imperial Court, various Taoism sects, Southern Border Alliance, the Jew Temple, Inquiring Sword Pavilion, these top forces all secretly discussed. Meanwhile, in a certain hall, a group of demon sect powerhouses were also discussing this matter. Sitting at the head were not just one person, but 3, one wearing a bronze ghost mask, another a dignified middle-aged man with silver glowing eyes causing some apprehension, and the third, a middle-aged, beautiful woman in green, alluring in every gesture and smile, carrying a certain seduction. These are the three vice sect leaders of the demon sect. It seems like last time, when Elder Wang and 5 others went to attack the true martial sect, that Senior Tianjian held back a lot of strength. Otherwise, just based on him alone, he might have been able to defeat Elder Wang and the 5 others. The voice with the ghost mask had a sinister tone. Although temporarily abandoning the assault on the true martial sect, it does not mean he has forgotten this grudge. But this battle shook the world, and the strength exhibited by true man Tianjian was somewhat beyond imagination. Even wanting to tackle it later is a tough nut to crack. The silver-eyed man speculated. Perhaps that time, Town North King was just visiting true Martial Mountain, so this old fox concealed his strength. The woman in green nodded in agreement. Kinching makes a good point, Ghost Mask. I think we should temporarily put aside the true martial sect. There is a senior Tianjian this time who has established the true martial sword monument, attracting many swordsmen. It won't be easy to take down the true martial sect in the future, and it's not worth the effort since, in reality, we don't have any deep grudges against them. Immediately, an elder proposed. 3 vice sect leaders. Perhaps we can consider another approach. He glanced at Ghost Mask and smiled. I heard that vice sect leader Ghost Mask has an unparalleled genius under his command who has already entered the blood demon pool, causing quite a stir and showing the demeanor of a saint heir. Since he hails from the true martial sect, why not let him try to make the true martial sect submit to us? If it is feasible, then not only would we have one less opponent, but we would also gain a strong source of new blood. The expressions of the 3 people varied, for they all knew that this elder was referring to Qin Yun. Qin Yun's transformation in the blood demon pool was unexpectedly smooth and caused quite a commotion, alarming the Grand Elder, who granted special permission for Qin Yun to delve deeper into the pool to draw strength. Ghost Mask slowly shook his head and said, "The probability of this plan working is too low. Qin Yun once rebelled against the true martial sect." The woman in green casually glanced at her slender fingers and said, "Though he is a defector, the relationship between master and disciple is deep, like that of father and son. I observe Taoist Longshan's affection for this former disciple is not necessarily heartless. It wouldn't hurt to try when Qin Yun comes out of the blood demon pool." Ghost Mask stared at the beautiful woman without speaking, but everyone could see his displeasure because, after all, Qin Yun was his man. After a few breaths, he suddenly said, "Vice sect leader Lin, I heard that Ruhua's niece is now astonishingly beautiful, with the bearing of a saintess. Since you think so highly of Qin Yun, why not let her and Qin Yun come together? Perhaps this could set the stage for a great story in our holy sect." Lin Xueshuang's eyes narrowed, and she snorted coldly. "Ruhua, that silly girl can't bear the title of saintess. Who knows where she's been running off to lately?" However, she seemed somewhat moved and began to consider it carefully. "But perhaps after Qin Yun emerges from the blood demon pool, we can try to let them interact a bit." Ghost Mask immediately laughed heartily. In the middle, Xiang Tianqing frowned slightly and interrupted, saying, "There's another important matter recently." Everyone's expressions turned serious, realizing what Xiang Tianqing meant. The Southern Border Alliance has been acting crazy, launching successive attacks on several of our strongholds, catching us somewhat off guard. Especially near the southern border in White State, one branch was directly wiped out, and a celestial human realm elder was killed. In an instant, everyone was furious. Although they had heard of this before, they had not known that a celestial human realm elder had also been killed. Lin Xueshuang's eyes gleamed with deadly intent. Is the Southern Border Alliance really trying to go to war with us? Do those god and ghost-like creatures really think that forming an alliance allows them to challenge our holy sect? If they're not afraid of benefiting Great Yin, let them come. Ghost Mask pondered, somewhat suspicious. Could there be some misunderstanding? Our holy sect has never had conflict with the Southern Border Alliance. Both parties wished to step out of the 100,000 mountains. As it is said, the living conditions there are becoming harsher, with exotic beasts frequently rioting, making even the outskirts unsafe compared to before. Whatever the reason, even if there is a misunderstanding, we should still subdue them first. Only then can we sit down and talk. Xiang Tianxing stood up, his silver eyes filled with killing intent. Then let's fight. Everyone was incensed. They could tolerate Great Yan's dominance, but now even the Southern Border Alliance dared to provoke them? The group reached a consensus and began discussing various countermeasures. Unnoticed and silent. Amidst the tumult of true man Tianjin, the Southern Border Alliance and the Demon Sect began to experience various undercurrents, which left the somewhat bewildered Great Yin court wondering why these two forces suddenly clashed. However, for them, it was a good thing, as they were happy to watch from the sidelines and even occasionally added fuel to the fire. And the instigator of all this was leisurely passing his days at the Seeking Tao Institute. After the great battle concluded, Ning Qi rarely enjoyed some peace and quiet. No one disturbed him, as all true martial sect disciples engaged in the sword Tao were enamored with comprehending the true martial sword monument. After Luo Wentian set various rules, it was gradually open to martial artists outside the true martial sect, prioritizing swordsmen but allowing other martial artists to comprehend it as well, though with fewer spots. Ning Qi lay on a rattan chair, the enlightenment tea tree beside him thriving under the watering of blood jade pill liquid, slowly growing to the height of a thigh. He himself was communicating with the sword intent of the true martial sword monument, sensing the imprints left by those who had delved into the monument in recent days. Though some small progress was made, given the short time, Ning Qi was rather expectant. At least it proved the method was viable. One person's wisdom could never compare, but the collective efforts of tens of thousands would undoubtedly elevate his sword Tao to an unprecedented height. This recent battle, with applications borrowed from true martial heritage, was remarkably effective and allowed for such a decisive victory. Ning Qi reflected on the sword strike that defeated Thunder Shock Blade Venerate. Heavenly Sword Transformation 9 gave him significant insights. Perhaps, the Heavenly Sword technique can be further perfected by integrating sword arrays. A spark of inspiration ignited in Ning Qi's mind. He had previously created some powerful sword arrays, such as the Heavenly Gang and Earthly Fiend sword array, which had astonished several celestial human realm experts at the Celestial Being Grand Ceremony. With this sword array, true martial sect disciples had already made a considerable name for themselves in Qing State. The Heavenly Gang and Earthly Fiend sword array has already become a major trademark of the true martial sect. In the past, when Ning Qi created the Heavenly Sword technique, it was to unleash his own Gang Qi and blend it with the power of heaven and earth. Though its power was ample, it lacked intricacy, as his comprehension of the power of heaven and earth hadn't reached that level. Now, as Ning Qi's foundation deepens, it can naturally be further strengthened. This is not a difficult task for him. However, with the current strength and amount of Gang Qi at my Jade Liquid Realm, the Heavenly Sword Transformation 9 is relatively easy, but proceeding further might allow a full-force fusion with the Heavenly Gang Sword Array. Beyond that, it might be somewhat lacking in follow-through. To fully evolve the Heavenly Gang and Earthly Fiend's Sword Array with the Heavenly Sword technique, hope lies in achieving it after reaching the Primordial Core Realm. As for the 10,000 swords in the sky, that would only be after the celestial human realm. Ning Qi is somewhat looking forward to it. He cultivates the myriad phenomena True Gang, mastering many paths. Yet currently, his sword Tao leads in lethality, and with the constant feedback from the true martial sword monument, it is likely to continue maintaining the lead. However, the Heavenly Sword technique is actually the fusion of sword intent, Gang Qi, and the power of heaven and earth. With my capabilities, transforming it into the Heavenly Blade technique or the Heavenly Spear technique poses no problem at all. Thinking about this, Ning Qi's lips curved slightly. He reached out with a gesture, and a long blade with a bold purple hue flew out of the room. landing in his hand. He gently stroked it. The newly acquired heavenly thunderblade immediately emitted a resonant hum, with lightning flickering on the blade, even resonating with some kind of thunderous force in the high heaven. This blade is somewhat special. It seems to be able to attract the power of heavenly thunder. The Thundershock Blade Venerate previously used this blade to gather energy, further amplifying his thunderous blade intent, but didn't fully develop the heavenly Thunderblade's capabilities. Fortunately, I know a bit about the blade path, and having previously fused with the Thunder Tiger fake pill, I have some insights into the path of Thunderous. Ning Qi chuckled softly. Holding the heavenly Thunderblade, he swung it, causing a Thunder Dragon blade, Qi, to surge forth, only to disappear instantly before it could touch a peach tree. If the Thundershock Blade Venerate were to see such ease and leisure, he would be utterly stunned. His signature martial arts perfectly replicated, even surpassing him in another's hands. The Thundershock Blade Venerate can certainly be considered a genius in the blade path. Once the Thundershock's secret record arrives, I can carefully comprehend it. Ning Qi remains very interested in the celestial being's secret record, now accumulating foundation. After advancing to the celestial human realm in the future, he will be even more in his element. Dispelling distractions, Ning Qi turned his gaze to the heavenly Thunderblade. Just like the previous Cyan Profound Treasure Armor, he doesn't merely aim to acquire a piece of treasure armor or blade. He hopes to comprehend the essence of the heavenly Thunderblade and the operating principle through which it draws the power of thunder. He has a premonition. If he can simulate it, he will gain an unparalleled secret technique. Gang Qi flowed around, and purple hue circulated on the heavenly Thunderblade. Ning Qi submerged in contemplation, perceiving the changes of the heavenly Thunderblade, with spiritual light like a spring, constantly gushing. But after a moment, he shook his head slightly. To truly comprehend, I must ascend to high heaven, or perhaps wait for rainy weather. To attract thunder, one needs a personal experience. Ning Qi still harbors some apprehension about the real power of heavenly thunder. In this world up in high heaven, terrifying lightning exists. Even a celestial human realm expert could be pulverized if they venture too deep. Many records document attempts to explore beyond the skies, all ending in failure with dire consequences. Currently, the town North King is still on true Martial Mountain. Once he leaves, I'll attempt again, no rush. Ning Qi is very patient, and after contemplating the heavenly Thunderblade for a while, he began calmly cultivating. The rumblings of the heaven and earth grinding wheel quenching gang technique echoed in his ears, and Ning Qi's mind was completely serene. Meanwhile, in bright Martial Pavilion, the town North King is sitting across from Taoist Longshan. After the war, the town North King didn't leave immediately because Li Ling wanted to comprehend the true martial sword monument, so the town North King had to allow this, sensing certain intentions within himself, thus deciding to stay on true Martial Mountain. During these days, the town North King secretly observed, feeling more and more that the true martial sect was remarkable. The disciples of the sect are quite talented, showcasing some martial arts that even astonished him. Their foundation is deep, prompting him to think of researching the origins of true martial heritage later. He felt it was not simple. The most satisfying aspect for him is the teaching ability of Taoist Longshan. Some people are naturally suited to be teachers. Previously, the incident with Lawfu's sword Venerate made the town North King realize that being a teacher isn't just about strength, compatibility matters too. He had seen Taoist Longshan teach Zhuang Chun, admitting to himself that he didn't possess such teaching prowess, making the thought in his heart grow stronger, leading to today's scene. How has the town North King's stay on true Martial Mountain been? If there's any neglect, please forgive us. Taoist Longshan felt puzzled as to why the town North King visited today, but remained courteous. He guessed that the town North King might be preparing to leave. After all, he had rarely shown up these past days. But the first words from the town North King left Taoist Longshan dumbfounded. He smiled warmly. No need for formality, true man. My visit today is to make a request. Please speak, Town North King. If it's within the capabilities of our true martial sect, we will surely give our all. Taoist Longshan's expression turned solemn. He always remembered the favor of the Town North King's intervention before. The Town North King wore a serious expression. I wish for Ling to join the true martial sect. Taoist Longshan found it difficult, having just issued a grand promise, only to face embarrassment. It's not that I'm unwilling, but I'm afraid Senior Tianjin might not be willing to take a disciple. He instinctively thought the Town North King intended for Li Ling to join True Man Tianjin School, which was out of the question. Only he knew that True Man Tianjin was his own young disciple, making it impossible to accept disciples. The Town North King shook his head, laughing. No, it's not about joining True Man Tianjin School. I wish for Ling to join your school, True Man. Please, True Man, accept him. I will prepare a generous offering for the apprenticeship. Upon meeting True Man Tianjin, he felt that although True Man Tianjin was strong, he was definitely unsuitable to be a teacher, too cold, too unfeeling. Taoist Longshan was even more amazed. He never expected the Town North King to ask for Li Ling to become his disciple. What virtue or ability do I have? I'm afraid I might delay the Crown Prince. He was self-aware that for the Town North King's Crown Prince to seek apprenticeship, surely many would eagerly accept, including some strong celestial being list figures. He heard that Luofu, Sword Venerate, ranked 21st on the celestial being list, was once invited to the royal mansion but later left. Although Taoist Longshan believed he'd eventually have a spot on the celestial being list, he had just broken into the celestial human realm and still needed time to accumulate and settle. The Town North King stood up and with a bow offered a ceremonial salute. True Man need not be modest. To be frank, I've observed your teaching methods. They can be considered world-class. Ling having lost his mother early, is somewhat mischievous, but on true martial mountain, he has been exceptionally happy. If he can join your school, it would be his fortune. I have no other intention. I simply wish to find a good teacher for Ling and I ask you to fulfill this. His words were earnest, his posture very humble. In the past, he didn't want Li Ling to risk being targeted, but now with the strong display of True Man Tianjin and the true martial sword monument attracting many swordsmen, the safety factor has greatly increased. If he arranges for several strong individuals to settle in true martial city, Li Ling could be even safer than being in the royal mansion, as the Town North King himself couldn't always be around Li Ling. Taoist Longshan was moved. For the 7th-ranked, unparalleled strongman on the celestial being list to bow to himself so sincerely, it showed genuine intention. He sighed inwardly. How loving the hearts of parents are. Taoist Longshan helped the Town North King up, expressing his thoughts. Town North King, do not be like this. To be candid, I also quite like this child, Li Ling. His comprehension and root bone are excellent, and his sincerity to sword Tao, if polished well, will surely achieve greatness. Honored by the Town North King's confidence, from now on he will be my school's 11th true inheritor. Upon understanding the Town North King's intent, he decisively agreed. He did not flatter. Given Li Ling's natural talent, he was indeed a worthy disciple. Although his personality was somewhat mischievous, he was fundamentally kind-hearted. Previously, when Luofu, Sword Venerate, sought to borrow the sword forcefully, he proactively spoke against it. Besides this, accepting Li Ling as a disciple also meant that a solid support stood behind the true martial sect. Others who wish to trouble the true martial sect in the future will have to consider carefully. The Town North King showed a smile. A weight lifted from his heart. He said, "Thank you, True Man. Besides, there's one more thing. Ling greatly admires True Man Tianjin Sword Dao. Could I trouble you to pass along our request? If True Man Tianjin is willing to share his sword Dao with Ling I am willing to exchange it for my heaven-suppressing fist or seek out other interesting inheritance for True Man Tianjin." Taoist Longshan was inwardly stirred, nodding gently. If I have the opportunity to meet Senior Tianjin, I will convey it truthfully. In True Martial Mountain, Many disciples gathered together. The atmosphere was lively as they conducted Li Ling's initiation ceremony. Li Ling knelt respectfully on the ground, bowing his head, and then presented the tea for his master. "Master, please have tea." Upon learning that he was about to be admitted into the true martial sect, he felt extremely joyful. Everything he had seen and heard recently made him admire the true martial sect greatly, especially the camaraderie among the true disciples, which he envied, as he was actually quite lonely in the royal mansion. Those royal family members who were close to him did so more because of the identity of the town North King. Taoist Longshan took a sip of tea with a smile. "Get up. From now on, you are the 11th true disciple of the true martial sect. We have no rigid rules. Just act with a clear conscience, and you must remember this." He was in a good mood as well. Recently, he had accepted 2 disciples with excellent aptitude, and he felt the enthusiasm he had when teaching Yi Qinghe and others returning once more. "I will engrave it in my heart." Li Ling nodded earnestly. Everyone laughed happily and offered their congratulations. Li Ling greeted his senior brothers and sisters, and Ning Qi and others also smiled and presented gifts. Zhuang Chun was quite excited. He had originally hit it off with Li Ling, and unexpectedly, they turned into senior and junior brothers in no time. Life indeed had such wondrous twists. The town North King witnessed this scene and smiled reassuringly. He felt that his choice was right. After witnessing Li Ling's initiation ceremony, he descended the mountain to leave, but before departing, he discussed with Taoist Longshan about exchanging insights on Sword Dao with true man Tianjian, promising that only Li Ling would watch, and he himself would definitely not interfere. Additionally, he told Taoist Longshan that he would arrange for several experts to be near the true martial sect. So, if any assistance was needed, they could contact them freely, and the resources needed for Li Ling's cultivation would also be prepared. This left Taoist Longshan quite moved. Several days later, Taoist Longshan formally began teaching Li Ling the true martial inheritance. He planned to teach Li Ling the Bian stance. In the martial arts arena, Luo, Wentian, and Xiong Shi were watching. Witnessing the scenery, their hearts were filled with emotion. 6 or 7 years ago, Ning Qi had initially stepped onto the martial path, and Taoist Longshan taught him the Bian stance here. Now the scene reappeared, but the object of transmission had changed. Li Ling was considered a genius, but he was far behind compared to Ning Qi's remarkable talent. The two exchanged a smile, both recalling their past awkwardness. They were somewhat astonished by Taoist Longshan teaching Li Ling the Bian stance, but then they became relieved. Li Ling was quite excited. He had heard Zhuang Chun mention the true martial 9 stances and the 9 great celestial beings fighting the martial saints several times over the past few days, and originally thought he might not have the chance to learn the true martial 9 stances, but unexpectedly, his master was teaching him. However, after the excitement, he couldn't help but hesitantly ask, "Master, isn't 9th senior brother cultivating the Bian stance? If I practice this stance skill..." He felt somewhat uncomfortable, as if he was taking something from 9th senior brother, though it wasn't clearly stated that the true martial 9 stances were limited to 1 stance per person, yet all the disciples thought so. Taoist Longshan smiled and said, "No problem, Jiu has his own path. If you later encounter things you don't understand with the Bian stance, you can consult him. Jiu's Bian stance is more formidable than mine." His choice to teach Li Ling the Bian stance was not a sudden decision, but rather a thoughtfully considered plan. The true martial 9 stances are the foundation of the true martial inheritance. Initially, Qin Yun's departure had distressed him, and he suffered a setback in this area. But later, Divine Sword Old Man entrusted Zhuang Chun to him on his deathbed, which instead broke his mental block. Since that was the case, it was simply reassembling the 9 stances. Ning Qi is the true martial path guardian, practicing the true martial stance, leaving the Bian stance vacant. Unless unexpected, it was unlikely he would take on more disciples afterwards. Li Ling was quite shocked. He hadn't anticipated that 9th senior brother would be so powerful. During this time, he had heard Zhuang Qin mention several peculiar abilities of 9th senior brother, but hadn't expected the Bien stance to be practiced more profoundly than his master. Come, continue practicing. Taoist Longshan explained the essence of the Bien stance, and Li Ling, truly the son of the Town North King, grasped it instantly, allowing Taoist Longshan to fully enjoy the pleasures of being a master. A moment later, he had Luo Wentian and Xiong Shi practice with Li Ling, while he himself walked towards the Seeking Tao Institute. In the Seeking Tao Institute, Ning Qi continued to comprehend the heavenly thunderblade. Ever since the Town North King descended the mountain, he relaxed considerably, not having to be so vigilant, frequently triggering blade intent and wielding the Thunder Dragon Blade Qi, savoring its transformations. He was waiting for sufficiently fierce lightning storm weather, and if not feasible, planned to head to high heaven for observation. Of course, he cherished his life and would definitely not delve deeply. When Taoist Longshan entered the Seeking Tao Institute, he saw Ning Qi swing a blade, with the thunder dragon roaring and then extinguishing the void. He was somewhat amazed. Had Ning Qi not been standing there for real, he might have thought Thunder Shock Blade Venerate had arrived. It was astonishing how, after an encounter, a person's ultimate skill was learned, surprisingly. Ning Qi turned around and smiled. Master! With a wave of his hand, the heavenly thunder blade flew into the house. Had someone else arrived, the heavenly thunder blade would have been put away long ago, but knowing it was Taoist Longshan, and having just experienced a new insight, he didn't stop. He invited Taoist Longshan to sit, and then brewed tea. Taoist Longshan took a sip, feeling refreshed, and his thoughts brightened several degrees. His eyes lit up as he asked, "This tea is good. Where did it come from?" Ning Qi pointed to the enlightenment tea tree beside him, already waist-high, and smiled. It's not the tea leaves themselves at work. The enlightenment tea tree saplings gather due every morning. I've had Tiansheng collected. If Master wishes, I'll have Tiansheng send some over to you in the future. Taoist Longshan looked and couldn't help but sigh. Back then, Wang Quan sent a dead species, but you managed to bring it back to life. If he knew, he might just be angrily revived. Back then, the demon sect not only attacked the true martial sect, but also the rebuilding Wang clan. Several celestial human realm experts fell together, and Ancestor Wang went missing. Taoist Longshan assumed he was dead. Ning Qi smiled slightly. Master, did you come over because of something? Generally, if Taoist Longshan has nothing to do, he rarely comes to disturb him. Taoist Longshan nodded and spoke about the main matter. It's the Town North King. He hopes to exchange with true man Tianjian. He explained all the Town North King's requests and promises clearly. Then he asked, do you think it's feasible? If not, I will send a reply to reject him. Ning Qi fell into contemplation. Li Ling naturally wanted to learn the heavenly sword technique. However, Li Ling couldn't really learn the heavenly sword technique. It's not that Ning Qi underestimated him, but rather the heavenly sword technique requires mastering the celestial being unity secret technique. Just this step is already extremely difficult, and furthermore, it demands high proficiency in gang qi and sword intent, which is an unparalleled secret technique that can reverse attack the celestial human realm at the gang essence realm stage. But Ning Qi could adjust, change it to a sword path secret technique that can only be used at the celestial human realm. The key is to teach Li Ling the sword intent. As for the inconvenience of Ning Qi teaching, this problem can be easily solved. The formless gang body can serve as a substitute. Thinking like this, Ning Qi felt it was feasible. It was simply spending a bit of time adjusting, creating some prerequisite martial arts in the Sword Dao, guiding Li Ling step by step, ultimately enabling him to master a weakened version of the heavenly sword technique at the celestial human realm stage. He was attentive not because he coveted Town North King's heaven-suppressing fist. Instead, he was interested in Town North King's influence. Ning Qi thought that maybe through Town North King he could obtain some information about the martial saint realm. As the Town North King is currently ranked 7th on the celestial being list, an unparalleled expert, perhaps inherently at celestial being realm perfection, nearing the martial saint realm, and being a royal family member, he may know some martial saint secrets. This is more worthwhile to him than any inheritance. But it also depends on whether Town North King is willing. Ning Qi slowly said, teaching Xi the sword Dao is naturally no problem. Sure, and Xi are my junior brothers. In the future, when their realms reach the necessary level, I will teach them. However, regarding Town North King, I hope to obtain some intelligence from him. Information about the martial saint realm. Upon hearing, Taoist Longshan was invigorated. He instantly understood Ning Qi's thinking. This is already a start to prepare ahead of time. He nodded and said, no problem. After a few days, I will send a message informing Town North King of your condition, and if he agrees, I will tell you immediately. After all, Town North King had just ascended the mountain. Saying true man Tianjin agreed right now would be somewhat strange, not fitting true man Tianjin's character as a secluded and solitary person. Following that, he added, I will also pay more attention and, if there's time, assist you by inquiring for some old friends. In the past, he did not pay much attention to matters of the martial saint realm, since it was too difficult. Just achieving the celestial human realm already requires a lifetime effort, and the martial saint realm is a legend in every era. But thinking about it, his disciple, not even 10 years old, already reached such a realm. Perhaps within 10 years, he could touch the martial saint realm, so preparing in advance is necessary. He internally cursed himself for being careless. Ning Qi smiled and nodded. The master and disciple chatted for a while longer before Ning Qi saw Taoist Longshan off. Time slowly passed. Li Ling gradually integrated into the true martial sect, and with the help of fellow disciples, built a small courtyard around Zhuangchun, naming it Mad Sword Institute. He was already aware that Zhuangchun possessed an innate sword bone, and was amazed, feeling considerable pressure. But soon this pressure turned into motivation. Both loved the sword, verifying each other's skills, and through positive competition, progressed more swiftly. This is also the origin of the Mad Sword Institute's name. Li Ling knew his talent, and the sword Dao wasn't as strong as Zhuangchen's. If he wanted to keep pace with Zhuangchun, he had to strive hard, be obsessed with the sword and extreme about it. Simultaneously, he also learned about the true martial peach assembly, only regretting he didn't enter the sect earlier this year. He's thinking that by the time next year's true martial peach assembly comes around, he need to get some entertaining things from the royal mansion. Li Ling occasionally also asked Ning Qi about the Bien stance. Ning Qi didn't hold back, causing Li Ling's progress and stance skill to be extremely rapid, making Li Ling more aware of this ninth senior brother's extraordinary nature. The turmoil from the battle between True Man Tianjin and Thunder Shockblade Venerate gradually calmed. True martial sect became livelier than usual. The existence of the true martial sword steel attracted many top swordsmen to ponder over the sword Dao, though fortunately, they were all sensible and no disputes occurred. After true disciples sat in town for a while, they relaxed, and thoughts of descending the mountain to train arose. Jiang Baishan was the most proactive, promptly becoming the focus of his fellow disciples' teasing. Fifth brother, when Thunder Shockblade Venerate challenged Senior Tianjin, a disciple told me they saw you talking and laughing intimately with a young lady. That lady was clad in white, stunningly beautiful. The fourth disciple, Hien, made expressive gestures. Li Ling giggled and said, Fifth senior brother, could she be our future fifth sister-in-law? The true disciples all laughed. Jiang Baishan blushed red. He gave Li Ling a sideways glance. What do you kids know? Go play on your own. Later, seeing everyone still laughing merrily, he decisively accepted the situation. So what if she is? Her name is Lin Ruhua, and we've been through ups and downs together, sharing mutual affection. Huh, how dare you bachelors laugh at me? Yi Qinghe raised her eyebrows, grabbed Jiang Baishan's ear, and asked who was the bachelor, causing Jiang Baishan to quickly beg for mercy. Everyone laughed even more happily. In the end, Luo Wentian waved his hand with a smile and then asked seriously, Fifth brother, since you've established your relationship with Miss Lin, why not take this opportunity to introduce her to our master and us? We can get to know your future wife better. Being so close to home, you should have brought her back. Otherwise, the girl might think you have other intentions. As your senior brother, I must remind you, once you've chosen your Tao companion, you must be devoted and not abandon her midway. His tone became serious towards the end. Knowing the story of Jiang Baishan's acquaintance with Miss Lin Ruhua, he recalled that initially, the girl almost chopped off his hand, yet they turned out to be a pair of rivals. Jiang Baishan hurriedly protested. I absolutely don't have other intentions, but Ruhua may still have some concerns. I'll try to persuade her, and next year I'll bring her back to participate in the true Martial Peach Assembly. He vaguely sensed that Lin Ruhua's identity was not simple, but he believed as long as they loved each other, they could overcome any difficulty. Everyone immediately gave him a thumbs up. Ning Qi also smiled and encouraged. Fifth brother, keep it up. They watched Jiang Baishan descend the mountain. Afterward, several of their fellow apprentices went down the mountain for training, while others remained on the mountain for cultivation. Ning Qi's Seeking Tao Institute returned to tranquility. During the White Ape's cultivation, it often hung out with Zhuang Chun and Li Ling. If Yi Qinghe was around, they formed a trio with the ape, and they dominated true Martial Mountain and nearby areas, causing trouble for the nearby exotic beasts. The iron-armed ape, for instance, was often targeted by the white ape and its companions to get even for the past bullying. Ning Qi was happy with this. He quietly cultivated alone, finding enjoyment in solitude. Currently, he had swallowed his 5th blood jade pill, further improving his strength, and occasionally felt an indescribable tremor from the jade liquid sea. He was about to turn 10 years old. At this pace, advancing to the primordial core realm next spring was likely inevitable. Cultivating breaking realm required persistent effort, which he had expected, so Ning Qi wasn't worried. Instead, he was eagerly awaiting Town North King's response. A few days ago, Taoist Longshan had someone send a letter. Ning Qi was contemplating the heavenly Thunderblade. Instead of receiving Town North King's reply, Thundershock Blade Venerate unexpectedly sent the Thundershock secret record first. As an elite on the Celestial Being list, Thundershock Blade Venerate's secret record was indeed valuable, providing Ning Qi substantial insights. He secretly compared it to the Dragon Tiger Eagle secret record, feeling the new record was superior. Ning Qi integrated it with the Heavenly Thunderblade for comprehension. Through these days of effort, he gained numerous insights, making noticeable progress on the path of Thunderous. His Gang Qi, when converted to Thunderous attributes, was extremely forceful and fierce, yet he hadn't found the key to deciphering the Heavenly Thunderblade's secret of channeling Heavenly Thunder. He hadn't yet encountered sufficiently intense thunderstorms. Ning Qi decided to test his luck at high heaven. Late at night, with no one noticing, Ning Qi suppressed his aura, distanced himself from the true martial sect, and then went skyward. Typically, celestial human realm experts didn't fly particularly high. But now, Ning Qi was attempting to break through upward. Initially, it was manageable, but the higher he went, the greater the pressure, rapidly consuming his Gang Qi, as if being suppressed by a certain will. Ning Qi's heart went cold. In this world, it's commonly rumored that the heavens are round and the earth square. He originally thought perhaps the people of this world hadn't grasped the truth. After all, he had come from Blue Star in a previous life, knowing the concept of planets and the universe. But now it seemed, perhaps he was too shallow. This world indeed has extraordinarily powerful martial artists. Some perceptions might not be wrong. He cleared his mind and focused upward, increasingly surrounded by emptiness, only the biting gang wind. Unknown how long had passed, the Heavenly Thunderblade on his back suddenly reacted, emitting a strong purple aura. His attention snapped to it, and his heart skipped. Above high heaven, a glaring lightning bolt descended like a thunder dragon, charging towards him, its might incredibly terrifying, comparable to Thundershock Blade Venerate strike. Ning Qi's body shimmered with green light as the Cyan Profound Body Protection technique instinctively activated to block this thunderous strike. Leveraging the thunder's glow, Ning Qi looked around, feeling a bit shocked. Above him, one terrifying lightning after another swirled within, resembling a deadly domain forbidding any life forms to traverse. The rumors are true. High heaven indeed has a thunderous, forbidden zone. Before Ning Qi could react, an even more terrifying lightning surged, purple mixed with black, several times stronger than the previous one. Ning Qi was aghast and fully executed the cyan profound body protection technique, barely defending against this lightning. Without any hesitations, Ning Qi burst into speed, diving downward. The lightning above high heaven was inherently chaotic. If he continued to linger, while the heavenly thunderblade attracted even more terrifying thunders, he might meet his end. This realm is definitely not within my reach now. Once Ning Qi no longer perceived the thunderous fluctuations, he breathed a sigh of relief, the invisible sense of danger dissipating entirely. He showed a hint of a bitter smile, perhaps due to his smooth sailing until now, coupled with easily overwhelming thunder shock blade venerate. He became somewhat complacent. Now, he completely sobered up, realizing he still needed to grow. Some places weren't within his reach yet. Ning Qi gazed deeply at high heaven. Intuitively, it contained significant secrets, yet the thunderous forbidden zone was too terrifying. He suspected even martial saints might not penetrate it. Taking a deep breath without any hesitation, Ning Qi continues to dive downward. No matter what secrets lie there, they're beyond his reach for now, so it's best to stay away. Returning the same way, Ning Qi lands atop a mountain peak. He feels a bit regretful. This journey to high heaven couldn't completely comprehend the secrets of the heavenly thunderblade. He has to wait for a rainy day. He is thinking of returning to true Martial Mountain. Yet his mind is perceptive. Ning Qi looks up at the sky, seeing clouds gathering above in the night, with waves of energy brewing. After a moment, thunder roars, shaking the heavens and pouring rain down. He feels something strange in his heart. Is it caused by my earlier venture into high heaven? But he feels it's unlikely. In some sense, this is like finding a silver lining in the dark. In a twist, Ning Qi sets aside distractions. Sitting cross-legged atop the mountain peak in emptiness with the heavenly thunderblade on his lap, he closes his eyes, beginning to earnestly comprehend. This rare opportunity must be seized. Roaring, a blinding thunderbolt breaks through the night sky, striking the mountain peak, shattering rocks, and trembling the mountain. Then another, similarly blinding thunderbolt strikes, hitting Ning Qi's body. But compared to the thunder Ning Qi experienced atop high heaven, it is gentler. A cyan glow appears on his skin, easily blocking it, leaving only wisps of lightning continually flickering on his surface. The heavenly thunderblade on his leg keeps vibrating, with waves of special energy emanating out. Thunderbolts are drawn in. Ning Qi does not deliberately guide them, allowing them to strike him. He can fully withstand such a degree, not out of masochistic tendency, but to more directly feel the heavenly thunderblade's transformation. Ning Qi's mind floods like a waterfall with spiritual light, constantly surging. Recent comprehension is continually emerging. The cyan profound treasure armor strong defense is due to its unique material. Similarly, the heavenly thunderblade's ability to draw thunder stems from its material, which becomes more apparent during thunderous weather. If catalyzed with thunderous power, it will be even more evident. The heavenly thunderblade's material changes upon encountering thunder, forming small units, which can be regarded as Chiman array, and are interrelated, which is the essence of its thunder-drawing ability. If I can simulate these units with Gang Qi, I can achieve the same effect, even further drawing, amplifying, manipulating thunder. This power can be used in many areas: martial arts, body forging, arrays, artifact refining, alchemy. Ning Qi continuously perceives the changes in the heavenly thunderblade and incoming thunderbolts. Meanwhile, the jade liquid sea shakes. Streams of Gang Qi circulate and gather. Ning Qi uses his body as a test ground, aiming to replicate the heavenly thunder blade's special qualities. He has a premonition that this time he will reap great rewards. The created secret technique can benefit many aspects. Unknown how long has passed. Rumble. Another thunderbolt strikes. Ning Qi opens his eyes, revealing joy. He forcibly suppressed the heavenly thunder blade's effect with Gang Qi, meaning this thunder just now was drawn by his Gang Qi simulation. Success. All that's left now is optimization. This technique can draw thunder from the sky. It shall be named the Heavenly Thunder Technique. The Heavenly Thunder Technique can be applied in many places. Ning Qi is eager to try. He stands tall within the void, Gang Qi circulating. He holds the Heavenly Thunder Blade, Gang Qi and the blade simultaneously vibrating at a special frequency, drawing a large wave of thunder, far more terrifying than before. This time, Ning Qi consciously controls it. The thunder does not strike him, but is instead converted mid-air into controllable thunderous power. Ning Qi swings the blade. The Thunder Dragon blade, Qi roars fiercely, turning a mountain into dust under the combined effect of thunder and blade Qi. This movement is terrifying even beneath the night sky's thunder. Ning Qi is very satisfied. This is merely the martial arts application of the Heavenly Thunder Technique. His painstaking effort wasn't in vain. Ning Qi puts away the Heavenly Thunder Blade, feeling perceptive, glancing into the distance, raising an eyebrow, then silently disappearing. Moments later, two figures fly through the air, landing atop the mountain peak where Ning Qi once stood. Observed carefully, surprisingly a pair of twin sisters carrying long spears, both with round faces, delicate appearance, seeming very young, but their celestial human realm cultivation exposes their true age is not so young. At this moment, both have expressions full of amazement, looking at the mountain turned to dust, speechless for a long time. If I didn't know Thunder Shock Blade Venerate couldn't appear here, I would really think this was his doing, the older sister whispered. The younger sister shakes her head. No, this unknown strong person is even stronger than Thunder Shock Blade Venerate. The older sister exclaims. But on the celestial being list, there's no second unparalleled expert proficient in the path of Thunderous and Blade Path. The world is vast, strong people hidden are countless. Unexpectedly, we sisters encountered one. We don't know whether to say this luck is good or bad. The younger sister adds, fortunately, that strong person has left. Otherwise, if we offended him, it wouldn't be good. We shouldn't have come here before, all because sister's curiosity is too strong. Don't forget our mission. The older sister sticks out her tongue. I thought it was just thunder falling. Who knew it was a strong person practicing blade here? Let's go, curiosity satisfied. Let's hurry to True Martial Mountain. The Prince attaches great importance to True Martial Mountain, having us specially escort the highest level secret message. Don't know what's inside. Seems quite thick. The younger sister immediately sternly rebukes. Stop. Your thought is very dangerous. The older sister quickly says, I'm just curious. The prince's grace is as heavy as a mountain. How could I act recklessly? The younger sister's expression somewhat eases. No more words. Both head towards True Martial Mountain through the space. The next day, True Martial Mountain. Twin sisters set foot on this mountain that had recently become famous, feeling a bit odd. The mountain was originally nameless, but became notable because of people. They saw swordsmen climbing with excitement, finally being guided by true martial disciples to a certain place. That is the legendary True Martial Sword Monument. Their spirits were lifted. Just a distant glance allowed them to perceive the overwhelming sword intent within. Although they wield spears, they could draw parallels. They saw, at the location of the True Martial Sword Monument, high platforms had long been constructed centered around the sword monument, continuously rising in height. Vaguely, they could see figures with long swords on their backs sitting among them, frowning in contemplation or opening their eyes in surprise. The aura of a very few made them feel apprehensive. They stopped to watch. The sisters, feeling overwhelmed, walked to the mountain gate. After revealing their identities, the guardian disciples dared not neglect and led them directly to see Taoist Longshan. A moment later, true martial hall, the sisters politely greeted. Chen Xing and Chen Yu greet true man Longshan. This time, we are here by the order of our prince to deliver a secret message. Please take a look, true man. They were very courteous. As she spoke, the younger sister, Chen Xing, took out the secret message from her bosom and handed it over. Taoist Longshan felt a sense of foreboding in his heart. The sisters did not conceal their aura. The cultivation of the celestial human realm was fully revealed. Using two celestial human realm powerhouses to escort the message showed its importance. Taoist Longshan quickly remarked, "It's a long journey for you too. Thank you. I wonder if Town North King had any other instructions?" Chen Yu smiled and said, "The prince prepared a discipleship gift for the crown prince. The prince ordered the royal mansion's entire collection of Taoist scriptures to be copied and sent over, but they are still on the way, expected to arrive in half a month." Taoist Longshan's eyes lit up. Previously, Town North King mentioned preparing a discipleship gift for Li Ling, and he hadn't taken it to heart. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be quite a surprise. Even though Town North King's mansion is not a Taoist holy land, the collection of Taoist scriptures must be considerable. This complete set of copied scriptures can greatly enrich the true martial sect's scripture pavilion. Moreover, this is very beneficial for his ninth disciple, Ning Qi. Taoist Longshan knew Ning Qi always loved reading Taoist scriptures. Previously, the Taoist scriptures sent by the true profound sect had been mostly digested. Though true martial disciples have been continuously collecting over the years, the speed could not match Ning Qi's pace of absorption. Now that Town North King scriptures are being sent, it will be enough to let Ning Qi delve into the scriptures for a time again. Thank Town North King for his kindness. Taoist Longshan expressed his gratitude with a smile, not being polite. Chen Xing added, "Additionally, there is something else to inform True Man. The two of us will stay in True Martial City afterwards to protect the Crown Prince. If True Man has any matters, you can inform us. If the Crown Prince has any needs, he can also tell us." Taoist Longshan nodded in agreement. "This is a good thing. Chen Xing and Chen Yu protecting Li Ling also means protecting the true martial sect. If the true martial sect encounters difficulties, they naturally will not stand by without helping." Taoist Longshan stood up and said, "I will have someone call Li Ling over so you can chat." He could tell that the two most likely had matters to discuss with Li Ling alone. A moment later, Li Ling arrived. He first respectfully called his master. Then his eyes lit up calling out to Aunt Xing and Aunt Yu. Taoist Longshan smiled slightly, leaving the space to Li Ling and the two sisters. He himself took the secret message from Town North King to the Seeking Tao Institute. Ning Qi was cultivating. Under the support of the blood jade pill, even the large grindstone formed by the power of heaven and earth appeared to be covered in a layer of blood, effectively increasing as strands of jade liquid gang qi became more condensed, re-merging into the jade liquid sea. Perceiving Taoist Longshan approaching, Ning Qi stopped cultivating. The pressure around him flashed and then disappeared. Seeing the secret message in Taoist Longshan's hand, Ning Qi felt a shock in his heart, unable to resist asking, "Master, has Town North King already responded?" Taoist Longshan nodded with a smile. Indeed, he sent two celestial human realm experts to escort the secret message this time. "I estimate he should have agreed to your terms. Take a look." He handed over the secret message. From beginning to end, he had no thought to open it himself. This was a transaction between Town North King and his disciple. Though curious, he had no intention of prying. Ning Qi took a deep breath. He opened the secret message. At the top was a piece of gold parchment. Ning Qi focused on it, his pupils involuntarily shrinking. Taoist Longshan was intrigued, rarely seeing such an expression on his disciple's face. Most of the time, Ning Qi was extremely calm, almost unreactive even if the sky were to fall. While he was curious, Ning Qi handed over the gold parchment. Taoist Longshan couldn't resist looking, and the next moment he froze in place, as if petrified, with waves surging in his heart. The information recorded was not much. Only one short sentence. In this world, there is no longer a martial saint technique. To achieve martial saint status, one must forge a new path. In a daze, the gold parchment in Taoist Longshan's hand began to burn without wind. In the blink of an eye, it had turned to ashes and dissipated into the void. The master and disciple exchanged glances, their hearts filled with various speculations. This simple sentence carried massive information, and from Town North King being cautious enough to use this self-incinerating gold parchment, it was evident that this information was highly confidential and could not be spread. Earlier, Ning Qi tried to use Gang Qi to stop the self-incineration of the gold parchment, but failed. In this world, there is no martial saint technique. Does this mean all martial saint techniques have been severed? Why would they be severed? Were they erased by someone, or is there another reason? Taoist Longshan murmured to himself, unable to remain calm. There are martial saints in the world. The martial saint of Great Yin is proof. Yet the Town North King said that to become a martial saint, one must forge a new path for themselves. Is the path of the martial saint of Great Yin impassable? Or is it that someone doesn't want others to ascend to martial saint, thus deliberately destroying all martial saint techniques? Taoist Longshan's eyes narrowed slightly. In his heart, he had an even more shocking guess but didn't voice it. The martial saint of Great Yin has dominated the world for 2,000 years. Perhaps he intends to monopolize the universe, preventing others from reaching martial saint? Ning Qi, merely seeing the look in his master's eyes, already knew what he was thinking. In fact, his initial thoughts were the same as Taoist Longshan's. But soon, he thought more deeply. Previously, when he received the Cyan Blade Sword Saint's legacy from Zhuangchun, the martial saint part of the legacy was missing, as if it had been erased by someone. But there was an additional note saying that to become a martial saint, one must absorb the power of heaven and earth for their own use. If it was the doing of the martial saint of Great Yin, does he have the ability to erase the martial saint part from all martial saint legacies throughout history? Why not simply destroy the entire legacy? And why add such an unnecessary note? Moreover, if the martial saint of Great Yin wants to monopolize the world, he could secretly eliminate those at the celestial being perfection realm. Why allow them to continue growing and seeking the path ahead? Ning Qi found it somewhat illogical. But if these weren't the actions of the martial saint of Great Yin, then who erased these martial saint techniques? He voiced these speculations. Taoist Longshan fell silent. Hearing you say this, I suddenly feel that the true martial legacy I received back then might not be incomplete. Perhaps even the martial saint techniques in the true martial legacy were erased by someone. He voiced a shocking thought, but then shook his head. This was just his speculation. Perhaps the true martial legacy is one of the few well-preserved martial saint techniques? But why? Both were puzzled. After all, whether or not there is a cultivation technique to rely on is a different matter. For instance, the celestial human realm. If someone cultivates to the gang essence realm but doesn't have the celestial being's secret record to aid in cultivation, they might exhaust their life without breaking through, as it would mean blindly exploring a breakthrough method. Now, there are no martial saint techniques in the world, which means those at the celestial being perfection level need to explore the path forward themselves, forcibly creating a breakthrough method to reach the martial saint realm. This is almost equivalent to pioneering the next realm of the martial path, retracing the path of the human race, just knowing in advance that the next realm is named martial saint. The difficulty is imaginable. Ning Qi didn't know how long it took for the initial human race to explore the martial saint realm, but it couldn't have been short. Even with martial saint techniques, breaking through from the celestial human realm to martial saint is extremely difficult, with one not emerging even in a few centuries. Now, without martial saint techniques, it's even more hellishly difficult. No wonder there has been no new martial saint for 2,000 years. Taoist Longshan understood the reason. Ning Qi's eyes flickered. Perhaps this matter wasn't done by one person, but by a certain group or perhaps another force. He recalled the blind old man he met in the small town before, who subtly reminded him not to delve too deeply into martial saint matters, as if warning him that martial saints were ominous. He felt he was getting closer to the truth. Fortunately, it's just lacking the techniques that Ning Qi smiled. In terms of comprehension, he wasn't afraid of anyone. It's just that there are no martial saint techniques. He needs to create them himself. To others, it might be as difficult as climbing the sky, but to him, it's really not a big deal. Once I break through to the celestial human realm, I'll start working on creating martial saint techniques in advance. However, even if I create martial saint techniques, I must be discreet until I fully understand the truth. Ning Qi always felt there were deeper secrets hidden beyond the martial saint realm, especially concerning the martial saint of Great Yin, the only martial saint in the world today, who required caution. Although Ning Qi felt that it was difficult for the martial saint of Great Yin alone to erase all martial saint techniques, his existence was always somewhat strange. The master and disciple discussed further. Ultimately, they both felt that it was best not to spend too much energy on this matter and act low-key instead. Ning Qi let out a light breath, setting aside his distracting thoughts. Then he carefully read the next part of the secret letter. This thick stack was the main body of the secret letter, recording the signature ultimate skill of the Town North King, the heaven-suppressing fist. Clearly, the Town North King felt that the martial saint information he knew might not satisfy true man Tianjian. So he attached his ultimate skill, full of sincerity. Such a secret letter naturally required 2 celestial human realm experts to escort. Ning Qi watched attentively, with some surprise in his eyes, nodding slightly. The Town North King truly deserves the title of unparalleled genius. The heaven-suppressing fist he created indeed had substance, greatly inspiring Ning Qi, especially in the application of suppressing and sealing with the power of heaven and earth. Previously, the Town North King had used the heaven-suppressing fist in front of Ning Qi, and Ning Qi had learned a bit. But only by observing the entire heaven-suppressing fist did he realize that the Town North King had only used a part of its mysteries that day. It's the heaven-suppressing fist, truly an unparalleled fist technique. Ning Qi was not stingy with his praise. Taoist Longshan smiled and nodded, feeling no need to look. Even as Ning Qi passed it to him, he didn't take it. The previous martial saint intelligence could be known by one more person without harm. But this heaven-suppressing fist was, after all, the Town North King's ultimate skill, used as an exchange with true man Tianjian, and he wouldn't be so shameless. Ning Qi did not insist. He was already organizing several celestial human secret techniques, which he would later teach to Taoist Longshan, not inferior to the heaven-suppressing fist. As for stronger ones, it's not that he was holding back. He was just afraid Taoist Longshan wouldn't be able to learn them yet. After a few days, I will let true man Tianjian quietly appear to teach Xi. Master, please help me to reply to the Town North King to reassure him. Ning Qi said with a smile. Since he had received the Town North King's intelligence and martial arts, he wouldn't break his promise. Taoist Longshan also nodded with a smile. He also spoke about the apprenticeship gift sent by the Town North King, which delighted Ning Qi. It was truly a timely reign. He had already fully assimilated the Taoist scripture of the true profound sect, and the Taoist scripture from the Town North King's mansion would further enhance his foundation. Half a month later, the copied Taoist scripture from the Town North King's mansion was delivered to true Martial Mountain, with at least 2,000 volumes, excluding some duplicates. One must say, the Town North King was truly generous, and the foundation of the Town North King's mansion was indeed profound. Such a collection of books was not inferior to some major Taoist sects. Ning Qi once again immersed himself in a fulfilling life of reading scriptures and seeking enlightenment, with his gang Qi growing stronger and more solid day by day, bringing him closer to the final transformation. During this period, Ning Qi also condensed a formless gang body, while in the back mountain, teaching Li Ling some precursor sword path secret techniques of the heavenly sword technique. Li Ling was overjoyed. He had been somewhat troubled recently. While his talent was equally exceptional, compared to Zhuang Qin's innate sword bone, he was still slightly inferior. Only with a passionate love for sword Dao could he barely keep up with Zhuang Qin's pace, though it was difficult. But now, with the guidance of true man Tianjian, he found it much easier. However, during this close interaction with true man Tianjian, although he admired him even more deep down, he couldn't help but feel his own master was better. The reason being, true man Tianjian was simply too stern and aloof. Although his sword Dao was unparalleled, Li Ling preferred his master's teaching style. After some internal struggle, Li Ling secretly shared with Zhuang Qian about his father's investment in hiring true man Tianjian to teach him sword Dao. Zhuang Qian was somewhat envious, but was genuinely happy for Li Ling. The two senior and junior brothers were very friendly, engaging in healthy competition without envy. Taoist Longshan watched with satisfaction in his eyes. With the example of Qin Yun before him, he was now very attentive to the situation of his disciples in this aspect. Time flew by. When Ning Qi took the 8th blood jade pill, the year-end arrived. A major event also occurred in the true martial sect. Taoist Longshan passed on the position, and Luo Wentian succeeded to the position of sect leader of the true martial sect. True martial dojo. All the disciples gathered together, excitingly watching the two people at the front, who were Taoist Longshan and Luo Wentian. Today is an extremely important day for the true martial sect. It signifies succession and development. Taoist Longshan, dressed in a pure white Taoist robe, appeared ethereal and otherworldly. His eyes were filled with deep emotion as he suddenly looked back, as if seeing the path he had walked. The true martial sect had developed over decades to become a top sect renowned across the world. However, more effort is still needed. The true martial legacy records the past glory of the true martial sect, where even a martial saint once appeared, dazzling this world to its utmost. His gaze then turned gradually solemn as he looked at his eldest disciple. Today, I am officially entrusting the true martial sect to you. You must always remember your mission and lead the true martial sect forward. Can you do that? Luo Wentian's body trembled. He was very excited, yet also felt a lot of pressure. The topic of succeeding as sect leader had been brought up long before by Taoist Longshan. He had always worried about not doing well, but now he finally made up his mind to give it his all to fulfill his master's wishes. He realized that his previous worries weren't that important after all. Being in the white mist realm, assuming the role of sect leader was barely manageable, and he would continue to improve. It was only a matter of time before he could break through to the jade liquid primordial core. After cultivating the sleep dream skill, many true disciples found their cultivation progressing at an alarming speed. They realized how terrifying the cultivation technique given by Ning Qi was, enough to break conventional cultivation records. Apart from this, with Taoist Longshan and true man Tianjian providing foundational support, he had nothing else to worry about. After all, Taoist Longshan, now breaking through to the celestial human realm, needed more time to cultivate. He was only hidden behind the scenes, not abstaining from matters. If a situation truly required Taoist Longshan's intervention, he wouldn't stand idly by. Luo Wentian only needed to focus on handling the sect development affairs. He was very adept at these matters. Even one might say, over the last decade, although Luo Wentian had no title of sect leader, he already had the responsibilities of one. This is also why Taoist Longshan chose Luo Wentian to succeed him. The true martial sect must continue to develop. Luo Wentian took a deep breath, suppressing his many inner thoughts, then solemnly declared, I will devote my life's energy and will not fail my master's trust. Taoist Longshan's eyes glistened with tears. He placed the Taoist crown of the sect leader on Luo Wentian and donned the Taoist robe of the sect leader on him, then announced loudly, From today on, Luo Wentian is the second-generation sect leader of the true martial sect. You must unite under the sect leader's guidance and revitalize the true martial. The disciples were also filled with excitement, bowing in respect and shouting. We see the sect leader unite and revitalize the true martial. The snowflakes fluttered in the sky, yet they couldn't extinguish the enthusiasm of the true martial disciples. If one doesn't count the previous history, the true martial sect is actually still a very young sect. The disciples consider themselves, but there aren't many disputes, as the vast majority are willing to devote their efforts, even to the point of self-sacrifice, for the sect. Ning Qi watched this scene, feeling deeply moved. He had been on the mountain for 10 years, witnessing the first transition of the sect leader position within his master's sect. Perhaps this kind of event would happen many more times in the future, but this one was the most important to him because it involved his master and his eldest senior brother. He was a true martial path guardian, preserving the safety of the true martial. His eldest senior brother was the new sect leader, leading the sect's development, which was wonderful. Every true disciple was genuinely joyful, and no one thought that Luo Wentian lacked virtue to match his position. Besides him, no one else in the true martial sect was more qualified to be the sect leader. In the distance, some renowned figures from Qing State were invited to witness the ceremony, including the swordsmen who were meditating at the true martial sword monument. They saw the astonishing cohesion of the true martial sect and were filled with admiration. An unparalleled sect with a millennia-long legacy was about to be born before their eyes. With such cohesion, it's hard not to rise. Some people started having thoughts. They had learned some information that after Luo Wentian succeeded as sect leader, there would be major actions and the true martial sect might expand. If they could join the true martial sect now, it would definitely be a great opportunity. Bright Martial Pavilion. Only Luo Wentian, Taoist Longshan, and Ning Qi were present. Luo Wentian was a bit puzzled at heart. Originally, he wanted to discuss his plans for the coming days with Taoist Longshan. Having just assumed the role of sect leader, he was full of ambition and wanted to achieve something significant while he had the spotlight. Unexpectedly, Taoist Longshan called Ning Qi over. It wasn't because he felt a difference in status after succeeding as sect leader, but since none of the other senior brothers were called, only Ning Qi was, it made him somewhat surprised. But Taoist Longshan's first words left him stunned. Taoist Longshan smiled and said, "Little Gio is the true martial path guardian." Path guardian? Luo Wentian's eyes filled with questions. Taoist Longshan began to explain. A path guardian is one who protects the true martial legacy. He is the only one who can cultivate our sect's unparalleled true martial stance, and only successive sect leaders have the right to know the path guardian's identity. Remember, no matter who the sect leader is in the future, the path guardian is above all. In crucial moments, he has the power to dismiss the sect leader, and the identity of the path guardian must not be easily disclosed. He half joked, half seriously. Taoist Longshan naturally understood Luo Wentian's character, but if someone else took over in the future, who might not keep their initial intent, at such times, the path guardian would play a crucial role, capable of averting crises and restoring order. Today, calling Luo Wentian and Ning Qi together was also to lay cards on the table. Since Luo Wentian has become the true martial sect leader, he is qualified to know everything, which is the result of discussions between Ning Qi and Taoist Longshan. Luo Wentian's heart surged with waves of shock. Then he said solemnly, "Disciple understands." He looked at Ning Qi with a kind of awe. At this moment, he suddenly understood things he couldn't comprehend before. All the preferential treatment towards Ning Qi in the past was not merely favoritism, but also to rapidly nurture a path guardian. Unparalleled stance skill, true martial stance. He immediately realized why Taoist Longshan had Li Ling cultivate the Bien stance. It turned out that Ning Qi was already beyond the realm of the true martial nine sons. He also understood why their master didn't want everyone to focus too much on Ning Qi's cultivation realm in the past. Jiao, you really are hiding deeply. He smiled helplessly, but was more excited. He thought that with Jiao's talent, he would surely grow into a pillar of the sky one day. With such a presence guarding the true martial lineage, it would be more stable. As for the Path Guardian's authority being above that of the sect leader, he didn't care at all. Like Taoist Longshan, he only hoped that the true martial sect could flourish forever. Luo Wentian continued. Jiao, whatever you need in the future, just tell Senior Brother, and we will use the entire sect's strength to make you the pillar of the true martial sect as soon as possible. He felt that confessing Ning Qi's identity today was to let him pave a smooth path for Ning Qi in the future, providing all resources at full strength. He didn't hesitate and immediately expressed his stance. He felt it was necessary, but as his words fell, Taoist Longshan and Ning Qi laughed, especially Taoist Longshan, whose eyes looked at Luo Wentian as if he was watching a naive child. Luo Wentian was stunned. He was somewhat at a loss and hesitated to say, Master, did I say anything wrong? Taoist Longshan laughed heartily. Jiao, he has long been the pillar of our true martial sect. His laughter was filled with endless emotion and contentment, as well as a certain relief. All along, he was the only one who knew Ning Qi's identity. Now, finally, there was one more person to share it with, and he had an indescribable joy. Luo Wentian was utterly dumbfounded. 1,000 thoughts and countless ideas surfaced, but he dismissed them one by one. Taoist Longshan didn't continue to keep him guessing and said with a smile, Perhaps you are more familiar with his other identity. Luo Wentian's breathing became rapid, and a certain guess emerged. His eyes widened instinctively. True man Tianjian. With Taoist Longshan's words, he was completely stunned, his entire being petrified, as if his mind was struck by lightning, dizzy and confused. Jiao is Senior Tianjian? How is this possible? Luo Wentian simply couldn't believe it. If anyone else had said this, he probably would have dismissed it as complete nonsense. But this was spoken by his most respected master, and Ning Qi was even smiling beside him. He struggled to digest this shocking news. This was definitely the most explosive news since he took office as the sect leader, and other matters fell behind. Taoist Longshan and Ning Qi just smiled, watching as Luo Wentian processed and accepted this fact. After a long while, Luo Wentian finally came back to his senses. He shook his head with a wry smile. Jiao, you really almost scared your senior brothers so loud. To be honest, everyone had secretly discussed Ning Qi's cultivation before, but all thought that Ning Qi, having cultivated for 7 years, might have reached the great success of inner essence, at most the inner essence perfection realm, which was already an exaggerated guess. Among them, Yi Qinghe mentioned Ning Qi might already be in the white mist realm, but everyone thought it was somewhat exaggerated. In 7 years, even martial saints throughout history haven't had such a cultivation speed. However, today, after personally hearing from Taoist Longshan that Ning Qi's other identity was true man Tianjian, Luo Wentian's worldview was somewhat shaken. It was truly astonishing. In 7 years, he had reached a height that absolute geniuses couldn't reach in hundreds of years. Just thinking about this terrifying time comparison made him feel a bit suffocated. At this moment, many doubts in his heart were resolved. Ning Qi, somewhat apologetically, Senior Brother, it wasn't intentional to keep it from you. Before finishing the sentence, Luo Wentian had already interrupted, his eyes full of sincerity. Jiao, I understand. This choice wasn't wrong. I even think you and Master shouldn't have told me today. His expression was grave. After recovering from a shock, he couldn't help but worry. Such terrifying talent that could make people fear, if known by those enemies, would surely cause sleepless nights and all kinds of schemes to eliminate Ning Qi. This is extremely detrimental to both Ning Qi personally and the future of the true martial sect. Taoist Longshan waved his hand. No worries, only the two of us know. Just keep it secret. As the successor sect leader, naturally, these things should be told to you, so that in the future, if I am not around for some matters, you and Jiao won't be unable to coordinate. Ning Qi also nodded with a smile. Indeed, Senior Brother need not worry. This was the result of his discussions with Taoist Longshan. Some things are destined not to be hidden for a lifetime. Luo Wentian's character is beyond doubt, and most importantly, Ning Qi's current strength is also gradually strong, except for a very few people who might make him cautious. Others pose no threat to him. Luo Wentian took a deep breath, still digesting this astonishing news, but the excitement in his heart had already begun to rise gradually. A junior brother with such monstrous talent is exciting just to think about. True martial path guardian, true man Tianjian. When the identities of these two people completely overlapped with Ning Qi's identity, he was very clear about what it represented. He smiled at the corner of his mouth. Recently, although the true martial sect has been prominent and famous throughout the world, there have been some sarcastic remarks, mostly concerning the lifespan of true man Tianjian. In the last fight between true man Tianjian and Thunder Shock Blade Venerate, many sensed that true man Tianjian was old and frail, perhaps with only a few decades left to live. If true man Tianjian passes away, then the true martial sect would only have Taoist Longshan, leading to a significant decline in prestige. But now he knew true man Tianjian was his junior brother. Forget the nonsense about his life being short. His junior brother was just like a rising sun. Luo Wentian felt increasingly confident in his heart. Master Jiao, I want to expand the true martial sect and implement some reforms. Taoist Longshan and Ning Qi exchanged smiles. You're the sect leader. Whatever ideas you have, just go ahead and do it. Both I and your ninth junior brother will support you. Ning Qi said, Eldest senior brother, when I am idle, I created many martial arts secret techniques and placed them in the scripture pavilion. You can use them to strengthen our true martial disciples' strength. If you encounter any difficulties, feel free to tell me at any time. Luo Wentian couldn't help but sigh. So those were all created by you, junior brother. When you previously gave us the sleep dream skill, we already had some suspicions, but Master always said he acquired it in his early years, so we didn't think much of it. But now that I think about it, there are too many loopholes. How could there be new secret techniques appearing every so often? He laughed. Taoist Longshan and Ning Qi also laughed. In the past, concealing their identities always made things less smooth, but now with open honesty, things were much better. Ning Qi said, compared to before, there are many more. There are more superior stance skills in the body tempering realm, and I also optimized the true martial 9 stances, making them close to unparalleled stance skills, but the difficulty of cultivation remains unchanged. Additionally, there are some stacking strength skills, gang strength skills, and slaughter martial arts and secret techniques that eldest senior brother can use as you see fit. Luo Wentian's heart was stirred. Great. With your support, Jiao, if I can achieve something, then I will be letting down all your contributions. He rubbed his hands, already eager to start. The next day, Luo Wentian gathered many disciples and announced various reforms. First, all the former true disciples are now set as elders and reserve elders. Among the current 10 true disciples, aside from the 3 young ones, the others have all stepped into the White Mist Realm. After advancing to the White Mist Realm, one can become an elder, while the 3 younger ones are reserve elders. According to the different personalities of everyone, various halls such as punishment, inheritance, medicine garden, external affairs, etc. were established for them to take charge of. For instance, Xiong Shi, being impartial and incorruptible, is responsible for the punishment hall. Although the true martial sect is currently united with hardly any underhanded deeds, one must always be prepared for any future issues, especially as expansion might bring in some bad elements. Besides, after becoming elders, they can accept disciples, but it's not mandatory. Secondly, the inner and outer sect disciples are also reclassified based on age and cultivation level. Some have exhausted their potential and will be encouraged to step out of the disciple ranks, taking on more internal affairs and assisting in the sect's development, serving as stewards of various halls or in charge of industries below the mountain. But their upward movement won't be blocked. According to their contributions to the sect, they will likewise be able to exchange various martial arts, secret techniques, and resources. And some young ones, or those with excellent potential, will primarily focus on cultivation while also being given some external tasks, allowing them to gain experience while contributing to the sect. This can form a virtuous cycle. At the same time, Luo Wentian further detailed the criteria for promoting outer sect disciples to inner sect disciples, considering not just cultivation, but also character and contribution to the sect. As for true disciples, this is different from before. Previously, the true disciples were all disciples accepted by Taoist Longshan. As long as they were his disciples, they were true disciples. However, Luo Wentian felt this, to some extent, diminished the enthusiasm of the disciples. Therefore, he implemented reforms. The number of true disciples is no longer limited. They can be promoted from inner sect disciples based on cultivation and contribution, or exceptionally talented young ones can be granted special permission to become true disciples. But the criteria are very strict and not easily met. Especially for the true martial 9 stances and subsequent inheritances, Luo Wentian also planned to pass them on to only 9 people. It must be the 9 most outstanding true disciples. As each reform was announced, everyone was amazed. Many ambitious disciples' eyes shone brightly with excitement. These were indeed significant moves, and one must admit, after such a reorganization, the vitality of the true martial sect was more vigorous, and the structure of the sect gradually became clearer, ready to burst with even greater vitality. Ning Qi listened. In his heart, he couldn't help but feel that his eldest senior brother was born to be his sect leader. So many things were arranged so systematically. Luo Wentian looked around at everyone and said, "As the true martial sect prospers in the days to come, the sect structures will be gradually adjusted. If any of you have good suggestions, feel free to put them forward. And there are 2 last matters. Firstly, I have had someone draft up everyone's contributions to the sect in recent years. Based on these contributions, each person can enter the scripture pavilion once and exchange for martial arts ultimate skills. Secondly, in 3 months, the true martial sect will open its mountain gates wide and recruit new disciples and members." Everyone was in an uproar. "We express our gratitude to the sect leader." Taoist Longshan looked on with satisfaction. Now the true martial sect was slowly taking the shape of a top-notch sect, and he had entrusted the right person. The major movement of the true martial sect quickly spread through Qing state, and then expanded rapidly to other places. Many people, upon hearing about the true martial sect's opening of its mountain gates, were excited, and some ambitious young men set out overnight, traveling thousands of miles. There were also some Gang Essence realm experts who knew they could join the true martial sect midway and were tempted. Although the standards for joining midway were stricter and the competition fiercer, almost cutting off access to the core, it was still better than having no sect. Luo Wentian's series of measures. The true martial sect radiated with even more vigorous vitality. Every day on True Martial Mountain was a change. The last time there was such a major movement was Taoist Longshan's Celestial Being Grand Ceremony. But this time it was even more. Many buildings began to be replanned, divided into various functional areas, such as the newly built Scripture Pavilion for storing ordinary Taoist scriptures and some less precious martial arts. The Scripture Pavilion near the Seeking Tao Institute originally housed more precious ultimate skills and secret techniques, as well as the Taoist scriptures Ning Qi wished to read. Knowing that Ning Qi was the true man Tianjian, he felt confident about this scripture pavilion. The true martial sect flourished. Ning Qi's heart was also joyful. Emotionally speaking, witnessing the daily growth of his sect filled him with an inner satisfaction. In other respects, the growth of the true martial sect meant more strong people, who naturally could better gather numerous resources for him. A sect is a large organization. It's never a one-sided affair where disciples receive all guidance and provide everything. Once disciples grow, they also need to contribute to the sect. Exotic fruits and flowers, rare copies, unique secret techniques, Taoist scriptures, such things naturally don't just fly in thin air. They are harvested by disciples, who then contribute to the sect to exchange for martial arts and more suitable resources they seek. Therefore, Ning Qi believes Luo Wentian's refinement of the contribution system is a very beneficial thing. Of course, in truth, it's not solely the work of Luo Wentian. As early as the previous 2 true Martial Peach assemblies, various senior brothers have begun discussing the details of refinement, with many suggestions stemming from Ning Qi. Now, it's merely carried out by Luo Wentian. The new sect leader's bold moves naturally elevate his prestige further. If there's any disadvantage to Luo Wentian now, it's that his cultivation is not very high. He broke through the white mist realm only 2 years ago, and at the original cultivation speed, reaching the jade liquid realm would take 10 or even 20 years. Even with the assistance of Ning Qi's created secret techniques and pills, breaking through to the jade liquid in just 2 years is impossible. After all, even Ning Qi himself took a year to go from the white mist realm to the jade liquid realm. But Ning Qi has a solution. He handed Luo Wentian some trump cards, like the gang attachment technique he created. At critical moments, it could enable Luo Wentian to unleash astonishing combat power and deceive others, needing only one chance to demonstrate, making it impossible for anyone to question the sect leader's strength. Just wait for a few more years. Once cultivation further breaks through, reaching the jade liquid realm or primordial core realm, there will be no need to rely on external forces. This is inevitable. Even though Ning Qi has created many secret techniques for accelerated cultivation, it's impossible for them to quickly break through several realms in just a year or two, reaching celestial human. It defies cultivation principles. After all, even Ning Qi needs to accumulate slowly in the gang essence realm, step by step. Thanks to the many secret techniques created by Ning Qi, the cultivation speed of Luo Wentian and others now breaks conventional norms. Disciples like the 7th disciple Song City and the 6th disciple Sun Chuan Hai have reached the white mist realm in their 30s, faster than Taoist Longshan. If they didn't obscure their age, it would have attracted many astonished looks. To break through faster, normal cultivation can't be quicker than this unless there's a great opportunity from swallowing heavenly materials and earthly treasures, or it harms one's essence, burning lifespan to accelerate growth. But that's not worth it. Ning Qi shakes his head. Neither he nor his senior brothers need this. Accelerating cultivation by burning lifespan is backtracking for him. His cultivation is for pursuing longevity, unhurried freedom. Now, everything is well. It's best to proceed step by step. When I reach the celestial human realm or martial saint realm in the future, I should reorganize my martial path, possibly further enhancing the limits of cultivation speed. As for now, Ning Qi still must focus more energy on himself. He closes his eyes, swallowing the 9th blood jade pill, getting closer to breakthrough to the primordial core realm. The true martial sect is advancing day by day. Almost every day brings a change, both internally and externally. And as the news of the true martial sect preparing to open its doors and recruit disciples spread throughout the land of Great Yin, more and more people set out early, heading towards the true martial sect, with many who are nearby already gathering in True Martial City. True Martial City is bustling right now. There's no way around it. As of now, the True Martial Sect's foundation is indeed exceedingly profound. With 2 celestial beings in one sect, Taoist Longshan is already extraordinary, having reached the celestial human realm at less than 100 years old, making him an unparalleled genius destined to make it onto the celestial being list sooner or later. There is also the unfathomable true man Tianjian, who recently shone brilliantly in a great battle with the Thunder Shock Blade Venerate. The sight of the true martial sword monument alone is enough to attract a large number of swordsmen wanting to join the true martial sect. Not to mention, in recent years, as the disciples of true martial have made a name for themselves in the martial realm, many people have come to know that the true martial sect has a rich legacy and possesses various ultimate skills and secret techniques. Some have delved into ancient history. They already know that the true martial heritage has been around for a long time, but it was revitalized under Taoist Longshan's hands, raising the enthusiasm for the true martial sect's open enrollment even higher. For all of this, the people of true martial sect are naturally happy to see it happen. Meanwhile, Luo Wentian is also busy and dizzy with tasks. However, before opening the sect and enrolling students, he has one more thing to do, which is to head to Tao State. Having just assumed the position of sect leader, he now carries enough weight to lead a team to Tao State and communicate with many top Taoist sects, especially the true profound sect. Having continuously invested and shown goodwill before, now that true martial sect has gradually gained a foothold, it naturally needs to reciprocate somewhat. There is give and take to maintain long-term connections. This can also lay a solid foundation for the future ranking of Taoist sects. At least while true man Tianjin is still around, the true martial sect stepping into the ranks of the world's top Taoist sects hasn't been much of a problem. Luo Wentian takes a group of excellent disciples along, with Taoist Longshan accompanying them, showing their importance and presence. Joe, during the time we are not here, pay more attention to the matters within the sect. Taoist Longshan conveyed secretly. Of course, the matters on the surface naturally do not need Ning Qi to worry about. The former second disciple Xiongshi has now become the punishment elder. With sect leader Luo Wentian not around, he is the highest authority, and his experience is sufficient to handle most problems. Ning Qi naturally nodded to reassure them. Watching Luo Wentian and Taoist Longshan leave, Ning Qi once again became idle. After informing Luo Wentian that he is actually true man Tianjin, it hasn't really had any extra impact on his life. He still reads the scriptures and cultivates in the Seeking Tao Institute every day. Although a new scripture pavilion has been built, it doesn't affect Ning Qi's reading. Sometimes he goes there late at night, and sometimes he asks the white ape to fetch the scriptures. Now that Taoist Longshan is accompanying Luo Wentian to Tao State, Ning Qi has taken on a new task, occasionally teaching Zhuangchun and Li Ling. This isn't a big problem for Ning Qi, as teaching one sheep is no different than teaching two. Moreover, both are extremely bright individuals who only need a little guidance. After revealing the truth to Luo Wentian, Ning Qi has also begun to gradually showcase more of his wonders in front of his fellow disciples. This is a step-by-step process. Aside from that, Ning Qi follows a routine cultivation schedule. The 9th blood jade pill has been taken for half a month. He estimates that in about a month, he will naturally reach the primordial core realm, at which point his strength will see a significant leap. Conducting an inner observation, the jade liquid sea in his dantian has solidified to an unbelievable degree, occasionally stirring a wave filled with surging power, suspended above which is the virtual sword pill, hanging like a great sun. After Ning Qi optimized it, it also possesses some ability to refine Gang Qi. Such massive Gang Qi is beyond imagining for ordinary people. Compared to this, ordinary jade liquid realm cultivation is like comparing a firefly to the moon. The supreme foundation Ning Qi laid in his early years is already showing effects. The further he progresses, the more exaggerated his strength becomes. It's unimaginable how powerful Ning Qi will be once he steps into the primordial core realm. He feels he might become unrivaled in the celestial human realm. Besides looking forward to a breakthrough in cultivation, he also anticipates another matter. That is the enlightenment tea tree. The blood jade pill liquid has been used up with extremely evident effects. The enlightenment tea tree is now waist-high, taking shape with tender leaves beginning to sprout on its branches. Ning Qi estimates that before this year's true martial peach assembly, he should be able to harvest a small number of enlightenment tea leaves. The effect of the enlightenment tea leaves may not necessarily be useful for Ning Qi himself, but they are certainly a supreme treasure for others. For Ning Qi, the enjoyment comes from the process of planting and then harvesting, Observing the daily growth of the Enlightenment tea tree has allowed him to accumulate substantial depth and gain a deeper understanding of the path of life, insights that cannot be obtained from reading scriptures. The true martial sect is expanding day by day. At the same time, the blood demon pool in the demon sect's forbidden land also experienced significant upheavals. Figures exuding powerful auras were all guarding outside the blood demon pool, waiting for something, led by a silver-haired elder whose deep gaze held a hint of anticipation. A moment later, this silver-haired elder's body shook slightly, staring ahead. "It's out." Everyone cast their gaze, seeing a white-haired figure stepping out from the forbidden land. The imposing aura from just having broken through the celestial human realm was not yet fully restrained, and everyone could clearly feel the ripples of the power of heaven and earth. This white-haired figure has the appearance of a youth, yet everyone senses an air of decay. After stepping out of the blood demon pool, Qin Yun felt momentarily as if he had lived through an eternity. He glanced at the group of experts from the demon sect, and his gaze finally settled on the silver-haired elder at the forefront, respectfully saying, "Greetings, Grand Elder and fellow elders." The gaze of the demon sect's Grand Elder seemed penetrating as he scrutinized Qin Yun up and down, ultimately revealing a smile of admiration, and said, "Though you borrowed the power of the sad white hair secret technique, it shows courage, and your direct entry into the celestial human realm within the blood demon pool indicates your compatibility with it. Qin Yun, you may become the saint heir of our holy sect." As the Grand Elder finished, everyone's gaze shook, and then someone hesitantly advised, "Grand Elder, the position of saint heir requires careful consideration. The root cause lies in Qin Yun's method of breakthrough. They are no fools. They can all sense that the vitality coursing through Qin Yun's body is likely less than half that of an average celestial human realm cultivator. Qin Yun is now around 30 years old. If, through normal cultivation, he could reach the celestial human realm at this age, no one would oppose him becoming saint heir. In fact, the entire demon sect would yield to him without reservation, as such talent surpasses all martial saint from antiquity, destined to become the strongest and make history. But unfortunately, Qin Yun did not cultivate normally. In the blood demon pool, he used the sad white hair secret technique, nearly burning away all his lifespan to achieve such a rapid breakthrough, and almost dying several times, causing quite a stir in the blood demon pool, which attracted such great attention. To be honest, Qin Yun is essentially over 400 years old now. Under such circumstances, many naturally dissent. But Qin Yun's expression remained calm. Back then, to secure 3 years for the true martial sect, he proactively applied to enter the blood demon pool, determined to live or die in it, thinking he'd either break through the celestial human realm for more influence or perish within. Unexpectedly, he succeeded, thanks to a heart demon secret technique he acquired years ago. Having experienced life and death, he now looks at many things with indifference. I wonder how Master and the others are doing now. This thought crossed Qin Yun's mind, and then he bowed respectfully to the Grand Elder. "Thank you for your favor, Grand Elder. Qin Yun merely took advantage to step into the celestial being realm, and I still need time to consolidate. My qualifications are insufficient, and I ask Grand Elder to reconsider about the position of Saint Heir." The Grand Elder gave Qin Yun a deep look, then finally said, "In that case, Qin Yun will be one of the 3 Saint Heir candidates. After earning merits for our holy sect, he will formally ascend to Saint Heir. Does anyone have objections?" He eyed the crowd with a powerful sense of pressure, signifying no compromise. Everyone unanimously responded affirmatively. The role of a candidate, Saint Heir, fell within the accepted baseline. Seeing this attitude among the crowd, the Grand Elder felt disappointed. Over hundreds and thousands of years, many within the demon sect also forgot their initial beliefs, starting to form factions for personal gain. In truth, he valued Qin Yun not for his cultivation, but for his compatibility with the blood demon pool. With Qin Yun's performance in the blood demon pool, if he were to enter the celestial being perfection realm, he might have hope to forcibly step into the martial saint realm leveraging the blood demon pool. Such a person not becoming saint heir directly would indeed be problematic. The Grand Elder snorted coldly, turned his sleeve, and left. The rest just bowed their heads in a respectful farewell. A moment later, someone approached with a respectful smile. "Saint Heir Qin, please follow me." Qin Yun silently nodded and left. Having spent more than a year in the blood demon pool, now he wished to know what had transpired outside during this time, especially with the true martial sect, even though Ghost Mask Vice Sect leader mentioned 3 years until its annihilation, who knew if he might change his mind midway. In principle, after entering the blood demon pool, one should grasp the true meaning of the demon sect for its protection and acknowledge the demon sect, but Qin Yun didn't know if it was because of the heart demon secret technique he acquired in earlier years, but he wasn't influenced by the demon sect's true meaning. Others naturally weren't aware of this. They watched Qin Yun's departing figure, their expressions varying. Some were ready to gamble early, as Qin Yun's foundation was shallow, but now with the support of the Grand Elder, he might succeed, while others wore dark expressions. Qin Yun's meteoric rise made the original 2 candidate saint heirs become 3, undoubtedly adding a rival. Qin Yun sat in the study. Tied bundles of documents lay on the table. Now being one of the 3 candidate saint heirs, his status was far higher than as a guardian. One command would naturally bring him forth. He perused the major events of the past year. Note down those potentially related to himself. Then, he turned his gaze to the last bundle of documents, those concerning the true martial sect. His heart fluttered, and he gently opened it. Information flooded his eyes. Moments later, mixed emotions filled Qin Yun's heart. Master has taken 2 more disciples? He looked at the intelligence shown. 10th true inheritor, Zhuang Chun, former disciple of Divine Sword Sect leader, Divine Sword Old Man. 11th true inheritor, Li Ling, youngest son of Town North King. In an instant, he didn't know how he felt, finally turning in a silent self-mockery. Ju has also become a senior brother. He recalled when Ning Qi was first brought up the mountain by Taoist Longshan. Back then, he also became a senior brother for the first time, feeling genuine excitement, but later it gradually changed. He does not blame others. Everything is his own fault. He took a deep breath. Qin Yun flipped through other pieces of information. The celestial being list is updated, and True Man Tianjian ranks 36. Thunder Shock Blade Venerate challenged, but was crushed by True Man Tianjian, who then established the True Martial Sword Monument. Is it possible that True Man Tianjian possesses the strength of the top 20 on the celestial being list? Has Senior Brother become the sect leader? As Qin Yun read through the reports, his eyelids kept twitching. Finally, he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, alleviating much of his earlier worries. Hearing news of the true martial sect again after more than a year, it was better than he imagined. True Man Tianjian's unexpected strength means that the demon sect won't be able to easily target the true martial sect. Moreover, there is now a looming presence of the Town North King behind the true martial sect. He felt a slight disappointment in his heart, watching the true martial sect grow step by step, yet he was not part of it. His eyebrows furrowed, and his expression suddenly became cold. The sound of the door opening echoed as Ghost Mask stepped inside. Qin Yun stood up respectfully. Greetings to Ghost Mask, the Vice Sect leader. Ghost Mask waved his hand, his laughter somewhat low and deep. Now that you are already a candidate for Saint Heir, you don't have to act as before when you see me. Qin Yun felt calm inside, but his expression turned serious. The rituals cannot be discarded. Without the Vice Sect leader's guidance, Qin Yun would not have the opportunities he has today. Even if I were to become a Saint Heir, I would always remember the Vice Sect leader's kindness. Ghost Mask smiled, a hint of satisfaction in his eyes, and glanced at the documents on the desk, seemingly nonchalantly asking, "Reading the true martial sect's intel?" Qin Yun's heart skipped a beat, and he replied naturally. Indeed, during the more than a year at the Blood Demon Pool, I never dared forget the Vice Sect leader's instructions. Ghost Mask stared at Qin Yun for a moment, and then suddenly laughed heartily. The Holy Sect has now made a new decision to change its attitude towards the true martial sect. Qin didn't speak yet. Ghost Mask continued speaking to himself. You are now one of the 3 candidates Saint heirs, but whether you can remove the word candidate makes a world of difference. Your main competitors now are Xiang Tianqing's factions Yi Kuang and the Second Elder's factions Wei Lei. Although you have the favor of the Grand Elder, your foundation is shallow. To compete for position, you need to make significant achievements. Firstly, if you can persuade the true martial sect to join our Holy Sect enterprise, it will be a major contribution. The Holy Sect places great importance on True Man Tianjian and the True Martial Sword Monument. As he spoke, Ghost Mask patted Qin on the shoulder. However, Qin only nodded slightly after blinking his eyes, saying, I will try my best. But he knew in his heart that this was absolutely impossible. He understood that his master would never pledge allegiance to the demon sect. Ghost Mask continued. Secondly, you need to win over neutral figures from Lin Xueshuang's faction. Her daughter Lin Ruhua should be known to you. If you can win her favor, it won't be difficult for Lin Xueshuang to support you. I've discussed this with Lin Xueshuang a few times, and she tacitly agreed. It depends on your skills. Qin was slightly taken aback, then nodded. I will try. Ghost Mask added. Moreover, you need to perform more often in regular times. With a shallow foundation, you need to work even harder. Thank you for the advice, Vice Sect Leader. Qin expressed his gratitude. If possible, he naturally wanted to become a saint heir of the demon sect, as it would grant him more resources and even the chance to become a legendary martial saint. Currently, aside from hoping for the success of the true martial sect, his biggest goal is to continually grow stronger. He has always been competitive, or he wouldn't have bet his entire lifespan in the blood demon pool. By the way, there's an event recently, and it's best if you join me to resolve it. Ghost Mask's gaze gradually turned cold. Previously, the Southern Border Alliance attacked us for no reason, but now they have sent a message to sit down and negotiate after experiencing our Holy Sect's deep roots and our fierce retaliation. He briefly explained the background of the incident, then added, This matter seems peculiar. After going through life-and-death battles with the Southern Border Alliance, it feels like we've fallen into someone else's trap. This negotiation is the best chance to find out the root cause. Though the Southern Border Alliance acted foolishly, we can't let others take advantage of it for nothing. Qin slowly nodded and replied, The Saintess of the Southern Border? I'm curious to have a look. Ning Qi was still unaware that his impersonation of Elder Wang in eradicating the Southern Border Alliance's base in Qing State had caused a prolonged blood feud between two forces, leading them now to consider negotiation. He had more important matters to attend to. Half a month ago, he had taken his 10th blood jade pill. Now, he finally reached his limit. Rumble. A faint rumbling emanated from within Ning Qi. If not for him using the silence technique to conceal it, any leaked aura would have startled those around. Ning Qi observed himself from within. The jade liquid sea seemed boundless, filling the dantian, and was exceedingly profound, with no visible bottom. Every casual motion was accompanied by immense power. Ning Qi considered it. In his current state, he undoubtedly possessed strength comparable to the tail end of the top 10 on the celestial being list. During this process of quantitative change, his strength had also improved significantly. And now, a qualitative change was imminent. Within the Seeking Tao Institute, only Ning Qi was present. He sat cross-legged, as the young shoots from the Enlightenment tea tree emitted a faint exotic fragrance that further soothed Ning Qi's state of mind. Turn, with a thought, everything fell into place. Within the dantian, the once lofty great sun shattered and fell, with Gang Qi returning to the great sea. Next, the entire jade liquid sea began to rotate, and an immensely powerful vortex appeared in the center of the jade liquid sea. All Gang Qi jade liquid was set into motion. Rumble. The increasingly intense sound of vibrations emitted from Ning Qi's body. He sat cross-legged, eyes shut tight, face calm, yet within his body astonishing changes were taking place. The initially deep and solid jade liquid could visibly be seen becoming more viscous, gradually transforming from a clear liquid into an paste-like existence. Ning Qi's bodily potential was tapped, a vigorous vitality merged within, giving birth to mysterious powers. Unknown since when. In the center of the jade liquid sea, a pill-like object appeared. As soon as this primordial core prototype emerged, Ning Qi's spirit shook, feeling a sense of transparency and comfort rising throughout his body. The jade liquid sea spun faster and faster. The viscous Gang Qi drilled into the primordial core prototype. The jade liquid sea disappeared at a horrifying speed. Meanwhile, the primordial core prototype visibly became rounder, more perfect, with formidable strength contained within that, once unleashed, could shake the heavens and earth. This crucial step was completed. Everything went smoothly, without any hindrances, unlike others who find breaking through realms difficult. Ning Qi's foundation was incredibly solid. Time passed slowly. As the last drop of jade liquid poured into the primordial core, the entire Dantian space was already empty, compared to before incredibly clean. Yet Ning Qi felt unprecedented power. Primordial core realm was achieved. He observed the Dantian internally, a seemingly ordinary primordial core swirling around, seemingly identical to that of other primordial core realm martial artists. However, once Ning Qi activated it, the primordial core would instantly radiate golden light, and unimaginable power would erupt. A primordial core that can radiate golden light is never recorded in ancient texts. Ning Qi marveled internally, just like his white mist marsh and jade liquid sea, also unrecorded. Obviously, he's treaded an unprecedented path on the martial path and achieved a cliff-like transcendence. He stood up, casually clenching his fist, sensing his strength. The Gang Qi condensed into the form of a primordial core had undergone another qualitative change. Ning Qi released a punch slowly. An incredibly powerful force seemed to freeze the surrounding void. Even the wind halted, and the swaying peach trees stiffened. All appear to have paused. This was the Town North King's ultimate heaven-suppressing fist, which Ning Qi learned easily by observing and improved, optimizing the suppressive intent to achieve a void-freezing effect. Even normal celestial human realm powerhouses struggle under such suppression. He compared it with the day the Town North King strolled and killed 4 demon sect celestials with ease, severely wounding Elder Wong with a punch. Ning Qi's eyes gleamed with determination. I can achieve the same, even more effortlessly. Even Elder Wong adorned in cyan profound treasure armor couldn't withstand my punch. He laughed, feeling carefree. Among the top 10 peerless powerhouses on the celestial being list, he had only seen the Town North King and could only use him for comparison. Ning Qi felt he could easily defeat Town North King if he went all out now. Perhaps my combat strength already stands at the pinnacle of the celestial human realm. Uncertain if the top 3 on the celestial being list can match me, Ning Qi was somewhat excited. It's not arrogance, but this sense of power is incredibly genuine. He even made conservative estimates. Perhaps only the martial saints can threaten me now. Unconsciously, Ning Qi had already reached the pinnacle of the world. Only a few could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. And now, he's only in his early teens. Although appearing like a 14 or 15-year-old, it doesn't change the fact he's cultivated for less than 8 years. His sense of security increased greatly. But I can't slack off. I'm not truly invincible yet. At least Great Yan's martial saints are stronger, and the Southern Border Alliance's Blood Emperor Gu. Unknown if it can create martial saint-level beings in the demon sect. There's also the martial saint realm's secrets, which I must face sooner or later. I must continue to work hard, reaching celestial human realm soon to be confident enough. Ning Qi planned his next steps. The celestial human realm is not difficult for him. The myriad secret techniques created before, especially unity of heaven and man, gave him profound insights into the power of heaven and earth. Even the follow-up cultivation technique myriad phenomena secret record he had created. Next, It's the divine union yuan pill, to resonate the power of heaven and earth. The only obstacle is Ning Qi's primordial core is too strong. Wanting to fuse his god within requires spending some time strengthening the god. As for resonating with the power of heaven and earth, for Ning Qi, it's like returning home, familiar beyond familiarity. So calculating. Ning Qi estimated the time needed to break through to the celestial human realm is even shorter than when he went from Jade Liquid Realm to Primordial Core Realm, the advantage of previous accumulation. Perhaps before the end of this year, I can truly step into the celestial human realm. Ning Qi was somewhat expectant. I wonder if after stepping into the celestial human realm, can I battle the legendary martial saints? Regarding the martial saint realm, Ning Qi currently has no concept. There are very few records of the martial saint among the many classics, and the scant bits and pieces of information available are ambiguous, making it impossible for Ning Qi to estimate the strength of a martial saint. Unlike the celestial human realm, even though he has never seen the top 3 experts on the celestial being list, at least he has a general idea in his mind. After all, the limit of the celestial human realm for ordinary people is just that. The 3 flowers of essence, Qi, and spirit reach perfection, and mastering some martial arts secret techniques, it's impossible to defy destiny too much. To be conservative, I should walk some distance in the celestial human realm before considering a duel with a martial saint. Shaking his head, Ning Qi felt that he was thinking too far ahead. At least for now, there is no need to overly worry about the existence of a martial saint. Haven't you seen that martial saints of great yet almost only appear once in a century? As long as the martial saint doesn't show up with his current strength, he is basically invincible. He continued to feel his physical body, which advanced another level after reaching the primordial core realm's nourishing feedback. Ordinary primordial core realm practitioners, when reaching this step, would also receive feedback, but their feedback effects are generally average, at most maintaining a level sufficient to bear the power, with the majority of their combat power still coming from Gang Qi. But Ning Qi is different. The vast Gang essence allowed his physical body to continuously break limits, having reached an incredible stage long ago. Even the Buddhist sects Vajra who specialize in the flower of essence cannot match him. He clenched his fist casually, feeling like he could shatter great mountains even without mobilizing Gang Qi. The augmentation of the physical body is not merely an enhancement of strength. It's an enrichment of the human body's foundation and a growth of vitality. Ning Qi could feel his lifespan increased again, possibly surpassing 1,000 years, even exceptionally so, a height difficult for the celestial human realm to reach. The most direct manifestation is his enlightenment being elevated again at the limit of his current life's strength. This feeling is truly exhilarating, Ning Qi sincerely expressed. The improvement in combat power is just incidental. What truly fascinates him is the transcendence of life each time. The sense of exhilaration and satisfaction from it is incomparable. Next, I'll focus on optimizing the refining spirit technique. This is content from a myriad phenomena secret record. Previously, I felt it was perfect, but now I see room for improvement, step by step integrating spirit into the primordial core to truly control the power of heaven and earth. His eyes held anticipation. Although he now uses various secret techniques like unity of heaven and man and the fake pill coheaven technique, he has already caught a glimpse of the power of heaven and earth ahead of time, but those are ultimately mediated through various means, always giving a sense of scratching an itch through boots. When he truly steps into the celestial human realm himself, he can clearly touch the essence of the power of heaven and earth, allowing for some previous experiments and conjectures. Regarding the martial saint realm, he already has some ideas, just waiting for verification. Also, the innate bloodline ensures innate sword bone. After reaching the celestial human realm, perhaps deeper exploration can be attempted. Ning Qi's mouth curved slightly as he slowly closed his eyes, continuing his contemplation beside the enlightenment tea tree. Time leisurely passed. Luo Wentian's side sent back information from Tao State. Everything proceeded smoothly, even incredibly so. Clearly, the people of the true martial sect severely underestimated the influence brought by a true man Tianjian. The true man Tianjian is suspected to possess the strength of the top 20 on the celestial being list. What does this mean? Even taking into account the hidden depths of Taoism, this is enough to rank within the top 5 among Taoist experts, and, on the surface, even the top 3. After all, the top 20 of the celestial being list, about 30% of those spots, are already occupied by Great Yan's imperial court, and when distributed to the other martial sects, how many can there be? On the surface, Taoism has only 2 strong contenders within the top 20 of the celestial being list. Under such circumstances, the weight of a true man Tianjian is naturally sufficient. Even if the lifespan of the true man Tianjian isn't long, there are at least a few decades left, and during these decades, it's not difficult to maintain a top-tier position for a Taoist sect. Besides having the strong support of the true profound sect, the true martial sect was directly recognized as the 9th top Taoist sect in the world, entering the ranks of the top Taoist sects in the world. Moreover, Luo Wentian mentioned that if it weren't for concerns about the short founding history and the shallow middle-level foundation of the true martial sect, it might have moved up 2 more places. But even so, they are already very satisfied. In the letter, Luo Wentian quietly mentioned that Taoist Longshan was extremely delighted, even unusually pulling himself in for a drink, making Ning Qi smile slightly. He deeply knows his master's long-cherished wish. Now is just the beginning. It's only a matter of time before the true martial sect becomes the number 1 Taoist sect in the world and even the number 1 martial sect in the world. Ning Qi was also very pleased. Becoming the 9th Taoist sect in the world isn't just about appearances. There are tangible benefits. First, the Taoist scriptures. As part of Taoism, the top 9 Taoist sects in the world will share some Taoist scriptures. Although there are no unique secret collections, the sheer volume is enough to greatly enrich the true martial sect's scripture collection. Plus, the Taoist scriptures transcribed by the Tao North King had already been sent, and Ning Qi estimated that during his celestial human realm phase, he wouldn't have to worry about a lack of Taoist scriptures to read. He now reads Taoist scriptures faster and faster. First, because his enlightenment is steadily rising. Second, because his foundation is increasingly profound, and he can quickly grasp the essence of some Taoist scriptures that are a bit superficial, turning them into skills for his own use. Secondly, the exchanges between top Taoist sects. If any trouble arises, the other top Taoist sects will not stand idly by. They are allies in both attack and defense, which increases the security of the true martial sect by 1 level. Of course, the other Taoist sects allow the true martial sect to smoothly enter the ranks of the top sects partly because of this. The security provided by a true man Tianjian is substantial. Even as mere deterrence, it's a significant gain. Ning Qi is, of course, aware of this, but it doesn't matter. At this stage, such a deal is more cost-effective for the true martial sect. Besides the smooth journey to Tao State on Luo Wentian's side, true martial mountain is also booming. Under the joint efforts of Xiong Shi and many newly appointed elders, true martial mountain has transformed dramatically. Pavilions rise from the ground, gradually extending to various locations at the mountainside. And the disciples are redeeming martial arts from the scripture pavilion and practicing diligently, waiting for the right opportunity to shine brightly. Furthermore, the news that the true martial sect will extensively recruit disciples next month has spread completely. Many people are eagerly awaiting, having arrived in true martial city early, with most being swordsmen or martial artists aspiring to the sword Dao. The true martial sword steel is incredibly attractive. They have heard that due to the overabundance of people comprehending the true martial sword steel, the new sect leader of the true martial sect, Luo Wentian, plans to further control the time and number of comprehending the sword steel, and may even set some standards. In such a scenario, Naturally, joining the true martial sect is best, as everyone understands the principle of being first to benefit from proximity. Xiong Shi and others are mixed with joy and concern. The higher the popularity, the better chance of recruiting talented individuals, but it also increases the possibility of attracting those with ulterior motives or ill intentions, especially as many come for the true martial sword steel and scripture pavilion martial arts. To this end, they have thought of some screening methods, but still feel they are not secure enough. Upon hearing about it, Ning Qi gradually formed an idea in his mind. Amidst the bustling, true martial sect, White State, this is the place in Great Yin closest to the 100,000 mountains, with mountains stretching across the state, and many state residents making a living from the mountains, adept at hunting, leading to a fierce folk custom and a multitude of martial artists emerging. On a precipitous mountain peak, unexpectedly, several luxurious palaces stand atop. This is a stronghold of the demon sect. Qin Yun and Ghost Mask and others have long been waiting here. Today is the day to sit down and negotiate with the Southern Border Alliance. Of course, if the talks do not go well, there might be a battle, so several demon sect powerhouses have not relaxed. Ghost Mask secretly transmitted to Qin Yun with a sly smile. The Southern Border Saintess is said to be a peerless beauty with extraordinary martial path talent. You kid are not bad looking either. If you can win her over, you will have no doubt about the Saint Heir position, and even the future sect leader position of the Holy Sect will certainly be yours. Qin Yun was speechless. He discovered this vice sect leader has a penchant for matchmaking, previously wanting him to win over Lin Ruhua, the daughter of vice sect leader Lin Xueshuang, and now urging him to win over the Southern Border Saintess. Does he really think everyone loves him? Speaking of Lin Ruhua, he felt a bit frustrated. Upon seriously investigating this one's information, he found that the vice sect leader's daughter is always coming and going unpredictably, often disappearing for several months or even half a year, not knowing what she's up to. There is a rumor within the demon sect that she goes to secretly meet her lover. Someone has seen the vice sect leader's daughter caressing a mandarin duck jade pendant, her eyes filled with emotion. So it's supposed to be him snatching love away? But 10 days ago, the glimpse of Lin Ruhua's disdainful gaze left him puzzled even now. Even if she doesn't fancy him, does it warrant such a look? Shaking his head to dispel the thoughts, Qin Yun spoke about serious matters. Vice sect leader, please don't joke. The Southern Border Saintess is a future pillar of the Southern Border Alliance. How could she marry an outsider? Today's talks mainly aim to uncover the mastermind behind it. Otherwise, if we keep fighting the Southern Border Alliance, wouldn't we just be benefiting others? Ghost Mask's expression turned serious, and he sneered. The Southern Border Alliance thinks they've acted covertly, but the matter of cultivating the Blood King Gu has been found by us. If we can find it out, naturally, others can too. Qin Yun squinted his eyes. You mean the Great Yin Imperial Court? As soon as the transmission ended, everyone looked towards the distant void, the undisguised fluctuations making them secretly raise their alertness. They saw a giant millipede speeding through the sky, faster than most celestial human realm flying in the sky, with several powerful aura figures standing on it. The leader masked in black gauze, slender like a willow, with eyes cold and indifferent. Behind were Snake Granny and 2 other elders. Qin Yun squinted his eyes slightly, sensing a trace of threat from this Southern Border Saintess. The flying centipede landed on the mountain peak. Ghost Mask's eyes flashed, and he laughed heartily to welcome them. I've long heard the Southern Border Saintess is a once-a-millennium, unparalleled genius. Seeing you today, it turns out the rumors are true. The Southern Border Saintess's gaze lingered briefly on Qin Yun's white hair, seemingly a bit surprised, and then looked at Ghost Mask. Nan Xian is not worthy of vice sect leader's praise. Your sect is equally full of talents. No wonder you can entangle with Great Yin for 1,000 years. The two praised each other, showing no signs of tension. The many powerhouses behind both sides were solemn, knowing it was just appearances. If no consensus is reached, there might be a big battle. Please. Ghost Mask chuckled lightly. The Southern Border Saintess remained unfazed as she stepped into the great hall. Such courage. Hearing Ghost Mask's compliment, the Southern Border Saintess said indifferently, I came today to resolve the conflict between the Southern Border and the Demon Sect. So let's get straight to the point. It's the Holy Sect, Ghost Mask emphasized. The Southern Border Saintess was non-committal, unwilling to waste time on it. Qin Yin stepped forward and said calmly, since we are here to solve problems, the Saintess must have come with sincerity. In the last half year, your Southern Border Alliance's powerhouses launched multiple attacks on our Holy Sect, with 7 small strongholds and 2 branches attacked, resulting in the death of 2 celestial being elders from our Holy Sect, for injured, and numerous gang essence, inner essence martial artists killed and injured. How do you plan to compensate? As he finished speaking, a murderous aura surged from the Demon Sect members. The Southern Border Saintess remained unmoved. Snake Granny sneered, saying, only your Demon Sect suffered losses? Our Southern Border likewise suffered significant losses, with 4 celestial being elders dead and 3 injured, and more gang essence martial artists died than yours. How do you plan to compensate? The 2 sides' conflict intensified, constantly escalating, gradually getting out of control, which is why both parties wanted to sit down and negotiate. Continuing to fight brought no benefit at all. Qin Yin was about to speak, but Ghost Mask frowned and said, wait, when our small strongholds in Qing State were destroyed, are you implying it wasn't the doing of your Southern Border Alliance? The Southern Border Saintess's eyes flashed. Are you saying you're not the ones who wiped out our Southern Border stronghold in Qing State, leaving no trace of bones, and it wasn't your Demon Sect who did it? Snake Granny behind her couldn't help but narrow her eyes. They had her communication with the blue serpent on her neck, and then once again, they simulated the power of a green force that had destroyed the Qing State stronghold. The Demon Sect members were all taken aback. Ghost Mask stood up, speaking decisively. That indeed is a unique skill of one of our Holy Sect's elders, but... He paused. He is already dead. For a moment, silence fell over the Great Hall, as everyone realized the situation and what it implied. The Southern Border Saintess didn't speak, her gaze becoming noticeably colder. Snake Granny coldly snorted and said, you claim someone's fallen just because you say so? Who knows if it's true? And even if this person has truly fallen, who knows if your Demon Sect has others who possess this poisonous power? At this critical juncture, it was naturally impossible to admit their mistake. Otherwise, the upcoming negotiations would become very passive. Moreover, this somewhat involved Snake Granny. After all, she was the one who detected the poisonous power, and now saying she got the wrong person, she bore responsibility. Ghost Mask ignored Snake Granny and simply looked at the Southern Border Saintess and continued. Since the Saintess has already identified this power as being unique to Elder Wong of our Holy Sect, then you must also know that he had once visited the true martial sect, and aside from that, he never exposed himself. It was during that visit that Elder Wong fell. We have no need to deceive you. The situation is now very clear. Someone is impersonating Elder Wong, destroying your Qing State base, attempting to provoke a blood feud between us. If we continue, it would only benefit others. Everyone's eyes showed a cold light, filled with the anger of being deceived. Qin Yun's heart trembled as Ghost Mask once again mentioned the incident of 5 celestial beings attacking the true martial sect at night and Elder Wong's involvement. He inexplicably felt that this matter might be related to the true martial sect, which was not something he wanted to see. Being caught between such giants as the Demon Sect and the Southern Border Alliance was not a good thing. The Southern Border Saintess finally spoke, raising her delicate eyebrows. But what we've heard is that your esteemed sect's elder, Wong, escaped with his life from the hands of the town North King. Speaking of this, Ghost Mask was immediately somewhat annoyed. Humph! The town North King is cunning. After severely injuring Elder Wong, he did not openly pursue him, but secretly followed. When Elder Wong was adjusting his breath, he suddenly attacked and violently killed him. We discovered traces of his unique ultimate skill, Heaven-Suppressing Fist, among the mountains back then. If you don't believe me, you can come with me to check. Snake Granny's eyes were heavy as she said, you mean to say that it was the town North King who acted? But how could he have possessed Elder Wang's unique poisonous power? The traces of power at the Qing state base could not possibly be fake. She still had some doubts, but her heart had already mostly believed it, considering the demon Sect had already proposed going to the place where Elder Wang fell to take a look. Even though so much time had passed, she could still judge whether they were lying to her. Ghost Mask exhaled deeply. Now it seems that perhaps it's so. Perhaps the Town North King obtained Elder Wang's unique ultimate skill after killing him and used it to provoke a conflict between us. After all, if we start a death battle, the most delighted would be Great Yin. He felt he was getting close to the truth. Qin Yun's eyes flickered. He had other suspicions, but felt it involved the true martial sect, which he didn't want to mention. But the southern border saintess slowly shook her head and said, "No, perhaps we should change our thinking." Everyone was stunned. Then they heard the southern border saintess's words like thunder. What if the Town North King, who killed Elder Wang, was also a fake? Ghost Mask's pupils contracted violently. The southern border saintess rhythmically tapped her slender jade fingers on the table. Suppose there's a person who is extremely skilled at mimicking others' powers, and his strength is mid-ranked, or even near the top of the celestial being list. It's highly possible he first impersonated the Town North King to kill Elder Wang, and then impersonated Elder Wang to destroy our Qing state base. And such a person could not only come from the Great Yin Imperial Court, but also from other places. She implied. Ghost Mask immediately caught on, solemnly stating, "Saintess, are you referring to the true martial sect?" The southern border saintess slowly nodded. That's right. Elder Wang went to destroy the true martial sect and ended up being attacked. From the perspective of benefits, the true martial sect is suspicious. You've overlooked them all this time due to their strength. Frankly, the destruction of our southern border Qing state base was also linked to the true martial sect. Although there is no direct evidence, such strange events being repeatedly linked to the true martial sect make it hard not to suspect them. Qin Yin slightly lowered his head, a shadow over his heart as he clenched his fists inside his sleeves. Snake Granny hesitated slightly. But that day we saw the sword intent of the celestial sword's true man with our own eyes. He was an ultimate swordsman. The southern border saintess questioned, what if it was someone else? No rule says the true martial sect can only have one celestial sword true man. Perhaps there is another hidden, stronger expert. Everyone pondered over this idea. The more they thought about it, the more it seemed plausible. I had suspected the true martial sect before, but later dismissed the suspicion. But now, combined with everything you've said, the suspicion on the true martial sect has instead increased. We cannot abandon the investigation into the Town North King line, but similarly, we cannot ignore the true martial sect. The southern border saintess's voice echoed clearly in the Grand Hall. Ghost Mask couldn't help but lightly sigh and clap his hands. As expected of the future leader of the southern border, so meticulous and sharp, truly eye-opening. It's a pity the saintess wasn't born in our holy sect. Saying this, he glanced slightly displeased at Qin Yun, who had been silent all along. This round of diplomatic exchanges was essentially led by the southern border saintess. According to the saintess's perspective, what should we do? The southern border saintess smiled lightly. Doesn't the sect leader of Ghost Mask already have an idea? Let's form an alliance. If previous events were orchestrated by Great Yin, then we must naturally join forces to retaliate. If it turns out to be truly the doing of the true martial sect, then find an opportunity to destroy the true martial sect together and then jointly resist Great Yin. She stood up and sighed faintly. The reign of Great Yin has occupied the land of the central domain for 2,000 years. Hasn't it been long enough? Everyone's emotions were slightly stirred. The 2,000-year reign of Great Yin was indeed too long. Do you and the southern border have a way to achieve the martial saint technique? Ghost Mask asked the most crucial question. If they wished to overturn Great Yin, then the martial saint of Great Yin was an existence that could not be ignored. The saintess of the southern border shook her head and said, Ghost Mask sect leader lacks sincerity. This point is clear to both you and I. In today's era, the martial saint technique has long been erased. One can only forcibly step into the martial saint realm through other means. The great yin martial saint won't easily sit by and watch as a new martial saint emerges, as he has been unrivaled in the world for too long. Don't tell me you, the demon sect, don't have a way to achieve the martial saint? If so, then let's disregard the matter of alliance. Ghost Mask hurriedly spoke. Saintus, wait. He chuckled twice. Our holy sect has been able to contend with the great Yin imperial court for 1,000 years. Naturally, we have our own foundation. I was merely confirming whether you have the qualifications for an alliance or not. Since we're forming an alliance, we need to be united and exert joint effort. Hundreds of years ago, a martial saint was about to be born from our holy sect, but was annihilated when the great Yin martial saint perceived and came for him at the critical moment. This time, we need to be more careful. When the time comes, with two martial saints born simultaneously, 2 against 1, we should be able to suppress the great Yin martial saint. This old man has lived for so long. Every time he acts, he's weaker than before. Even 2 newly born martial saints would be enough to contend with him. Ghost Mask gritted his teeth slightly. These years, the demon sect was like a centipede that wouldn't die, even after losing a leg, but they weren't wasting time either. Almost every 100 years, they would make the great Yin martial saint act once, to assess his condition. The saintess of the southern border was shaken inside, gaining a newfound understanding of the foundation and sincerity of the demon sect. She sat down and voluntarily said, "Our southern border needs your demon sect's cooperation to assist us in refining the Blood King goo." Ghost Mask smiled and said, "No problem. Our holy sect needs a large quantity of exotic beast intercores. The higher the quality, the better. You and the southern border are very close to the 100,000 mountains. This won't be difficult for you." The two exchanged glances, both understanding the meaning in each other's words. Obviously, this related to the method for cultivating a martial saint for both factions, but among smart people, there's no need to spell things out. This was considered a preliminary show of sincerity. Next up was the phase of haggling. When it comes to profit distribution, every inch counts. Qin Yun adjusted his mood and joined in, but the earlier mention of the true martial sect by the two left a shadow in his mind. He thought perhaps he should look for an opportunity to remind them. Time passed day by day. The days were drawing closer to the opening of the mountain gates of the true martial sect. A few days ago, Luo Wentian and Taoist Longshan had already returned to the mountain, bringing back the news that the true martial sect had ascended to 9th among the Taoist sects in the world, instantly causing jubilation throughout the true martial sect. The enthusiasm for the open recruitment of disciples reached another level. Ning Qi, in addition to his preparations for the recruitment, quietly honed the god. While further refining the myriad phenomena secret record, he also revised several secret techniques to make his combat power even stronger. The Path Guardian technique was also not neglected. For instance, the previously created virtual sword pill dissolution technique. Now with the primordial core, Ning Qi adjusted it and could gather as many as 3 virtual sword pills near his primordial core to maintain balance. This way, if he fully unleashes it, he can more than double his strength. As for the fake pill, it had already been extracted by Ning Qi. In earlier times, when he was weaker, he needed the fake pill to maintain appearances. But as his strength grew increasingly stronger, the role of the fake pill diminished, and even the fake pill dissolution technique had little use, similar in power to the improved virtual sword pill dissolution technique. Thus, Ning Qi completely severed the last thread of utility from it. But Ning Qi hadn't planned on wasting it. Instead, he opted to let Luo Wentian use it as a trump card. With his research into techniques, such as the fake pill coheaven technique and the fake pill dissolution technique, Ning Qi's understanding of the Beast King's inner core was no longer as shallow. A simple optimization of a new secret technique was formed. A slight modification or two, and the technique was reimplanted into Luo Wentian's body. Although Luo Wentian couldn't master the celestial being unity secret technique, Using the power of the fake pill to unleash the might of the primordial core realm was enough, and after he masterfully controls it, he might even be stronger than the average primordial core realm. For this to pair with the Thunder Tiger or Beast King inner core, Ning Qi simplified some of the content of the Heavenly Thunder technique, allowing him better command over the path of Thunderous. However, Luo Wentian was still familiarizing himself with this fake pill at present. And aside from this, Ning Qi continued to refine various changes of the Heavenly Sword technique. Having now stepped into the primordial core realm, the quality and quantity of Gang Qi surged again, gradually realizing his previous conception. And now, Ning Qi could easily divide 36 celestial swords to form the Heavenly Gang Sword array. Moreover, he was attempting to integrate it with the Heavenly Thunder technique. The Heavenly Thunder technique was his own unparalleled secret technique of the path of Thunderous, possessing numerous wonderful uses. Ning Qi already applied it to Alchemy Dao, and found that if he wanted to quickly enhance the strength of the true martial Sect members, it had to fall upon pills. During free moments, he would study it a bit, using the Heavenly Thunder technique to refine spirit medicine more efficiently, producing pills of higher quality. However, Ning Qi wouldn't neglect his own cultivation. But now, as his cultivation grew deeper, and with his martial path realm rising, he also began summarizing his previous path to make the martial path simpler, in some ways even using them as an experiment. Of course, this kind of experiment is harmless. Time passes. The much-anticipated day when the true martial sect opens its mountain gate has finally arrived. During these days, True Martial City is already overcrowded. Many people have come from far away, and many of them are children mostly brought by their elders, hoping they can seize the opportunity before the true martial sect fully rises. A few have come alone, some being beggars or from impoverished areas, seeking to change their fate with this chance. Sister, I will definitely join the true martial sect and bring you a good life. The thick-browed, bright-eyed boy sincerely vowed to the thin girl beside him. His face was dirty, but his eyes were incredibly bright, though he was very weak, hunger gnawing at him. The emaciated girl's eyes filled with hope. Brother, I believe in you. But she immediately sensed some mocking glances, instinctively shrinking into the boy's embrace. Their clothes were tattered, and if it weren't springtime, they might not have even made it to the true martial sect. A figure stopped in front of them. The boy hurriedly stood in front of his sister, not daring to look up, nervously saying, "Sir, we will leave right away, right away." The figure said nothing, merely put down an oil-wrapped bun and turned to leave. The boy looked in surprise, only seeing the departing white-haired figure, faintly visible with a mask covering part of his face. Thank you, thank you." The boy trembled with excitement, continuously murmuring thanks, his eyes somewhat blurry. On this journey, only he knew the hardships endured. Few had extended a helping hand, and he was too weak from hunger. These few buns might be enough to change his fate. Sister, quickly eat. Brother, you eat. You need to be full to pass the true martial sex test, and then you can repay me with 10 buns. The boy just shook his head. He firmly shared the buns with the girl, remembering the image of that white-haired figure. Such scenes are not uncommon in true martial city. There's simply too many people. The true martial disciples are overwhelmed just with maintaining order, preparing for the recruitment, and have no time to mind other matters. In a pavilion, the white-haired masked man stood by the railing. A cold voice nearby said, "I didn't expect that a saint heir of the demon sect would have such kindness. It truly refreshes this saintess's perception of the demon sect." Qinyan did not look at the southern border saintess, only slowly said, "Saintess has such a mind to observe me. It will be better to think about how to insert our people into the true martial sect during this disciple recruitment." The southern border saintess laughed. "The southern border has its ways. I can't manage you demon sex matters. In any case, with the true martial sect recruiting so openly, it will inevitably mix in spies from other forces. Some chaos could be interesting, just a test, and see if the incident with Elder Wang and the Qing State stronghold is really the doing of the true martial sect. Saying this, she suddenly turned her head, her eyes carrying a certain seductive charm. Speaking of which, I remember Saint Erchin was once a former disciple of the true martial sect. Are you not reluctant? Qin Yun coldly stared at her. I advise the saintess not to assume victory is assured. I know my senior brother very well. He seems simple, but is actually very prudent. Since he decided to open the mountain gate, he naturally has corresponding countermeasures. The saintess should be prepared for failure. I did not agree with this method before. It might even expose our intentions instead. The southern border saintess furrowed her brow and eventually chuckled softly. I simply don't believe it. Qin Yin said nothing more. At this stage, he couldn't stop it. He had done everything he could, and now he could only take it one step at a time. Inside the bright martial pavilion, Ning Qi and Taoist Longshan sat across from each other. In front of them was a chessboard. With their level of expertise, they could naturally sense the bustle at the mountain gate, where many participants had already gathered, just waiting for Luo Wentian to officially announce. Taoist Longshan casually placed a black piece inside. This recruitment, I don't know if it's good or bad. I didn't expect so many eyes on us. Joe, what do you think about the secret message sent quietly a few days ago? Is it true or false? His eyes showed a hint of coldness. A few days ago, a secret message was quietly delivered. It only said one sentence. The Southern Border Alliance and the Demon Sect have formed an alliance, intending to infiltrate the true martial sect. This news stirred everyone's hearts. Ning Qi paused his action of holding a white piece. Whether true or false, we will be able to tell during the test. He had many speculations in his heart. Since eliminating the Southern Border Alliance's stronghold in Qing State, there had been no sign of the Southern Border Alliance. He thought their attention had been successfully diverted to the Demon Sect, or perhaps they hadn't detected any traces of falsity. But now it seems he underestimated them. After circling around, the Southern Border Alliance still suspected the true martial sect and even formed an alliance with the Demon Sect. However, Ning Qi wasn't overly anxious. Now that he has entered the primordial core realm, his powerful strength gave him ample confidence. If given another year or so, when he advances to the celestial human realm, if the Southern Border Alliance and the Demon Sect dare to cause trouble, it would be courting death. But who sent this secret message? Ning Qi murmured. Taoist Longshan was also speculating, but there was too little information. Could it be that this secret message is just a probe? Perhaps they are not certain whether you, Jiao, took down the Qing State stronghold. Hearing Taoist Longshan's speculation, Ning Qi slowly nodded. In any case, let's remain calm for now. The longer we delay, the less threatening they become. Today, as we open the mountain for recruitment, we should take advantage of the examination to completely eliminate these snakes and rats. The two were discussing. Their gazes were focused on the mountain gate. Luo Wentian's voice echoed across the entire true martial mountain, indicating that the examination was about to begin. At the mountain gate, there gathered many participants, some hoping to join the true martial sect, and others simply here for the spectacle. The true martial disciples were striving to maintain order. Luo Wentian surveyed the crowd, exuding the presence of a sect leader, and said loudly, "Today, our true martial sect opened its mountain gate widely. I am grateful for all traveling from afar. But as for this recruitment, it has been clarified beforehand that only children under 10 who have not yet embarked on the martial path will be accepted as disciples. As for those accomplished in martial arts, only those above the white mist realm will be accepted. Others who do not meet the requirements, please leave the mountain." His voice was calm, yet carried an undeniable authority. All at once, the crowd erupted in uproar. How could this be? We traveled from far away. Please give us a chance. Sect leader Luo. Yes, our young master has just started on the martial path, practicing some family martial arts. Unexpectedly, the true martial sect is so tyrannical, contrary to its reputation. Some underhanded remarks began to surface. Many tried to pressure Luo Wentian into changing his mind by rallying the masses. But Luo Wentian remained unmoved, for this was decided long ago and would not change in the slightest. Moreover, this was not a spontaneous decision by the true martial sect. The recruitment standards had been spread along with the news 3 months prior. Many present knew this, yet still came, vainly hoping to try their luck, hoping to find an opportunity to sneak in, because the true martial sect was known for its benevolence. However, they had forgotten that the true martial sect was also known for decisive action. Luo Wentian remained still. Beside him, Xiongshi bellowed angrily, his Gang Qi surging like an enraged lion. The examination standards were set 3 months ago. Anyone speaking nonsense will be killed. He punched out, his Gang Qi smashing a large stone, instantly quelling all commotion. In the Qing state, the White Mist realm is considered a top-tier expert. Even the strongest of some weaker martial sects may not reach such a realm, so the deterrence is effective. Particularly now that Xiongshi has assumed the role of punishment elder, his influence has become increasingly apparent. The instigators immediately turned pale, especially upon seeing the cold looks developing in the eyes of the surrounding true martial disciples. They couldn't help but shiver, realizing their plans were mistaken. One by one, figures hurriedly bowed their heads and departed. The previously noisy base of the mountain was suddenly left half empty. However, it was starkly divided into 2 parts. One part consisted entirely of children, some accompanied by elders, others alone. These children numbered nearly 10,000, with an estimated total of 30 to 40,000, including those who left earlier. They formed the main force of the examination this time. The other part had only around 100 people, all strong practitioners above the White Mist realm. At this moment, their expressions varied. Some crossed their arms, some stared straight ahead, while others whispered discussions. These were all loose martial artists, here for better prospects and resources. They had struggled outside for a long time, rarely getting such an opportunity. Now, with the possibility of joining the true martial sect, they valued it greatly. Luo Wentian carefully perceived those unconcealed auras, feeling quite astonished that there was actually a primordial core realm expert among them, and also 7 or 8 from the Jade Liquid realm. Though astonished, he was secretly cautious, as Longshan had previously discussed the matter of confidential letters with him. Looking at the crowd, gradually settling down, Luo Wentian declared loudly, "I hereby announce that the true martial examination officially begins. The first round is the Heaven Ascending Ladder." He gestured with his hand, and everyone's gaze fell upon the green stone steps behind him. Luo Wentian's gaze was full of authority. Only those who can cross the Heaven Ascending Ladder will pass the first round. Those who give up halfway, or cannot reach the top, cannot enter the gates of true martial. The children immediately became nervous. The green stone steps appeared ordinary, yet seemed to emit a certain peculiar force. With Luo Wentian's words, the green stone steps also started to appear less ordinary. Luo Wentian, having spoken, smiled at the other standing Gang Essence realm experts and said, "Everyone, please follow me up the mountain. This Heaven Ascending Ladder is used for assessing children who have not yet embarked on the martial path." Ning Qi employed a special type of mineral coupled with a simple Chiman array to magnify the pressure as one walks on it. The higher one ascends, the more difficult it becomes. This test is of willpower. A total of 999 steps. Those who can reach the summit are surely individuals of extraordinary perseverance. This time's recruitment will lay the foundation for the future decades of the true martial sect. Absent special circumstances, there won't be another large-scale disciple recruitment for a long time, so Ning Qi regards it with high importance. Now, as his martial path realm deepens, he gradually understands that to walk further on this path, perhaps root bone isn't the most critical factor. Outstanding root bone might let you advance smoothly in the initial stages, but martial willpower allows lateness to surpass prevalence, even breaking one's own limits. Thus, he established the heaven ascending ladder as part of the assessment. Luo Wentian, taking many gang essence realm experts, departed up the mountain. With their cultivation, a few leaps took them out of sight. As they opened the sect this time, recruiting children is paramount. Yet these gang essence realm experts cannot be underestimated. After all, the true martial sect is currently in an awkward stage. At the top, true man Tianjian and Taoist Longshan awe the world. In the middle and lower levels in body tempering realm and inner essence realm can likewise look down upon the martial realm, but there is a significant lack in the gang essence realm. To this day, only 7 former true disciples have stepped into the white mist realm. Although they possess uncommon aptitudes and their combat strength surpasses ordinary white mist realm, as the true martial sect grows stronger, they still find themselves stretched thin. Hence, there arose the idea to recruit additional gang essence realm experts. This is a transitional phase. Once many gang essence realm experts emerge within the true martial sect, this awkward period can be overcome. For their assessments, it naturally differs from that of the children, prioritizing evaluations of combat strength and mindset. Watching Luo Wentian and the others leave. Remaining behind, Xiong Shi continued, adding, all those participating in the assessment, please note the following during the heaven ascending ladder. Firstly, do not rely on external forces. Use your own willpower to reach the summit. Secondly, do not attack other participants on the heaven ascending ladder. Anyone caught will immediately be disqualified from the assessment. Thirdly, if you can't hold on, call for help. A true martial disciple will escort you down the mountain. He glanced around at the crowd, his gaze carrying a faint sense of menace. And the earlier scene made everyone gradually develop a sense of awe towards this punishment elder, naturally nodding repeatedly at this moment. Now, I announce that the assessment formally begins. As his words fell, the prepared children started climbing orderly forward, not rushing to compete. As the true martial disciples had already explained the rules, it only matters how much time it takes each individual to reach the top, not who gets there first. Otherwise, with nearly 10,000 people surging together, even if the heaven ascending ladder is large enough, it wouldn't be possible for everyone to be on the starting line at once. Amidst the crowd, a skinny little girl encouraged the thick-browed boy. Big brother, you can do it. The thick-browed boy was also cheering himself on. Looking at the surrounding richly dressed boys, all strong and robust, yet he had nothing but a determination to fight with all means at his disposal. The children began stepping onto the heaven-ascending ladder and immediately noticed something unusual. Just after stepping on, they felt a faint pressure. Initially, it was still easy, but after every few dozen steps, the pressure escalated a level, causing them to tremble. For a child not yet 10, climbing 999 steps isn't easy, much less with increasing pressure. Many children looked towards the front, seeing the seemingly endless stairs, and a sense of despair arose in their hearts. As their spirit waned, people began to give up one after another. The true martial disciples traversed the heaven-ascending ladder, escorting children down one by one. This scene, observed by other participants, invisibly magnified the pressure. Most here for the assessment were already among the top of ordinary people, but now, as the assessment was too challenging, just having passed 1/3, half were eliminated. The previously crowded heaven-ascending ladder suddenly became notably sparse. And this was just the beginning. Constantly, people fell behind, some voluntarily withdrew. Some children even collapsed crying. The seemingly simple heaven-ascending ladder was in truth full of great challenges. Xiong Shi and Yi Qinghe watched these scenes unfolding, reflecting. Zhou's heaven-ascending ladder is indeed not simple. Now thinking about it, the martial path is like this heaven-ascending ladder, endless in sight, and wanting to walk it unwaveringly requires courage far beyond ordinary. Those who pass this ladder's test are bound for great achievements in the future. In failing to pass, no matter how good the root bone, is all in vain. Everyone nodded in agreement. Unknowingly, they forgot that Ning Qi was just over 10 years old. Time passed. The first stage of the assessment continued. Many were already near the summit. Among them, several outstanding saplings attracted their attention. That leading boy's steps are steady, his eyes firm, his bones robust, hailing from Gaoyang Lu family, named Lu Meng. The girl behind him isn't bad either, adept at using force skillfully, quite agile. If I recall correctly, she hails from a branch of the Ouyang family in Qing State City, named Ouyang Yushuan. Everyone commented one by one. Their faces showed satisfaction. The prestige of the true martial sect increased greatly, and some renowned families were also willing to send their potential offspring here. At this moment, the heaven-ascending ladder was already sparsely populated. People were dragged in a long line, divided into several groups. It was estimated that less than 5% would reach the top, which meant fewer than 500 people. The difficulty was imaginable. Ning Qi and Taoist Longshan had stopped their chess game and walked to the window, gazing at the top of the heaven-ascending ladder in the distance. Luo Wentian and others were waiting there. One by one, the children who reached the top stood in joy. Their journey up the heaven-ascending ladder had been a baptism of their will and character, making their future path in martial arts smoother. Taoist Longshan sighed with emotion. "Jiu, your method is really good. Once these disciples mature, true martial sect will indeed be as stable as Mount Tai." Ning Qi merely chuckled softly. He made a light sound, his gaze somewhat amazed. Taoist Longshan followed his gaze and was equally shocked. Near the top of the heaven-ascending ladder, a boy with thick brows and big eyes was struggling to climb. Most of those who should have reached the top had already done so. The boy was using both his hands and feet, with an astonishing determination in his eyes, leaving a faint trail of blood behind him. Those were the hands and feet worn bloody. The shoes on his feet were already in tatters, but he was still resolutely moving upward. With the vision of Ning Qi and Taoist Longshan, it was not difficult to see that the boy's internal strength was almost exhausted, and he seemed to be participating in the test on an empty stomach. Judging from his clothes, he came from a very low background. Taoist Longshan sighed deeply. This child has great perseverance. Ning Qi nodded appreciatively. This was rare indeed. Naturally, people at the mountaintop also noticed this boy. When he used up his last bit of strength to climb the final step, Luo Wentian's eyes were full of admiration. He personally went over to offer food and water. "Little one, what's your name?" The boy was extremely nervous. He never expected to be noticed by a big figure like Luo Wentian. He hadn't even had time to rejoice in finishing the heaven-ascending ladder, and he instinctively stammered. I don't have a name. People in the village used to call me Go Dan." Some around him showed disdain, while others looked with respect, knowing how hard it was for the boy to get here. Luo Wentian patted him on the shoulder, smiling encouragingly. "Go Dan, right? Have a good rest and work hard from now on." Go Dan nodded vigorously, his mood extremely excited. At this moment, Luo Wentian's silhouette was full of radiance in his mind. He began to ravenously devour the food in his hand, feeling somewhat regretful that his sister couldn't share it with him. He made up his mind in his heart to pass the test and become a true martial disciple. In the past, he wanted to become a true martial disciple just to fill his stomach, but now he had an indescribable feeling towards the true martial sect. Luo Wentian looked around the people and said loudly, "Firstly, congratulations on passing the heaven-ascending ladder test. Whether or not you can become a true martial disciple, this is a valuable experience for you, enough to take you further. Now rest well and prepare for the next challenge. You can also take the opportunity to observe the formidable strength of your martial arts seniors and set goals for yourselves." The children's eyes sparkled. They realized that this might be the test of those gang essence realm experts, who were super big figures beyond reach for most of them. Luo Wentian smiled at the numerous gang essence realm experts. "Ladies and gentlemen, who will go first?" The format of the test for the gang essence realm was not difficult. The first round was about combat power, which he had already introduced quite clearly. And the subject of the combat power demonstration was the mechanical beings before their eyes. As long as they could hold out under the mechanical being's siege for a quarter of an hour, they would pass smoothly. At this moment, everyone was looking at those mechanical beings with a strange gaze. They stood several meters tall and exuded a sense of oppression. This was naturally also Ning Qi's recent achievement, or rather, he had always dabbled in mechanical technique. Previously, he had brought some miscellaneous skills for him to gain some insight. Though these mechanical beings were somewhat clumsy and couldn't chase enemies, after Ning Qi combined them with the Chiman array, they became practical tools for testing. From the body-tempering realm to the inner essence realm and on to the gang essence realm, they all existed. The mechanical beings before them formed an array that could pose a significant threat to the white mist realm. Only the best among them could pass. Ning Qi and Taoist Longshan were watching, and with their insight, they could discern some clues from the many gang essence realm experts' actions. Perhaps they could even tell their origins from their martial arts techniques, unless they had never learned those iconic martial arts, in which case it would be hard to conceal. On the field, over 100 gang essence realm experts were a bit unsure of the strength of these mechanical beings. But eventually, someone was willing to be the first to take the plunge. A cyan-robed swordsman stepped forward, his eyes brimming with confidence. "I'll go." As soon as his words fell, he had already rushed out. Crack, crack, crack. A buzzing sound ensued as all the mechanical beings seemed to awaken from a deep sleep and began to move. Though clumsy, every move carried great power. The whistling sound was hair-raising, and when they formed an array, it exerted an airtight pressure. Moreover, their extraordinary material meant that gang qi strikes only left white marks on them, and that pressure came rushing in an instant. Of course, since this was a test, the gang essence realm experts couldn't flee. In normal circumstances, no number of mechanical beings could pose much of a threat to them, as they could easily widen the distance with their speed. But now, taking the initiative to withstand the attacks from the mechanical beings is entirely different. The cyan-robed swordsman is quite formidable, ranking above average among everyone here. Yet now, he is struggling, facing danger at every turn. If it weren't for his truly exquisite swordsmanship, he might already be out. Even so, sweat is beading on the cyan-robed swordsman's forehead, and he no longer holds the previous contempt. Everyone's expressions changed instantly. The children who had just passed, however, couldn't tell. They just watched the legendary gang Qi flying around, marveling in their hearts. Go Dan, while gnawing on a hot pancake, was full of longing in his eyes, hoping that one day he could become as strong as this cyan-robed swordsman. A quarter of an hour passed in the blink of an eye. The bell rang. The cyan-robed swordsman felt relieved. He immediately sped up, breaking out from the encirclement of the mechanical beings. There was already a hint of awe in his eyes. The legends he heard in the martial realm were one thing, but experiencing the true martial sect's foundation for himself, his heart burned even more, strengthening his resolve to join the true martial sect. The others thought similarly. "Congratulations," Luo Wentian said with a kind smile. He had been observing all along. This cyan-robed swordsman was indeed a talent within the white mist realm. The cyan-robed swordsman hurriedly returned the courtesy, without any neglect. With him setting an example, the others roughly estimated their chances. Although some were anxious, they had already come this far, so naturally, retreat was not an option. One by one, gang essence realm experts charged out afterwards. The array of mechanical beings was sufficient to accommodate a dozen for joint examination. In an instant, various gang qi flew around. Blade gang and sword gang filled the air. The children's eyes were filled with wonder. If it weren't for the inappropriate occasion, they would have already exclaimed in amazement. The number of gang essence realm experts they've seen today far exceeds the past few years combined. In the array of the mechanical beings, gang essence realm experts displayed their divine techniques. Some showcased profound martial arts expertise, some had exceptionally robust gang qi, some had strong physiques, and others possessed extraordinary body techniques. In summary, Those with a special skill in some field could usually pass. Conversely, if one was ordinary in all aspects, naturally they wouldn't pass. One by one, the White Mist Realm experts were eliminated. They accounted for more than 70% of those in the White Mist Realm, leaving less than 30% able to pass. As for the rare few in the Jade Liquid Realm and one in the Primordial Core Realm, they passed with ease. This trial was designed to filter out those in the White Mist Realm. Ning Qi watched, his eyes already stirring. Taoist Longshan turned his head and asked, "Gio, how many did you spot?" Ning Qi chuckled lightly. 8. These people truly regard our true martial sect highly. Taoist Longshan was stunned. He had only seen through 4, but he didn't expect Ning Qi to have spotted 8. Yet he knew Ning Qi wasn't one to speak baselessly. As Ning Qi pointed them out one by one, Taoist Longshan's face grew more somber with anger. These were only those the two of them had identified. What about those concealed deeper? Doesn't it mean that out of more than 100 Gang Essence Realm participants, nearly 10% are spies? This is quite something. Taoist Longshan's eyes held anger. Ning Qi reassured, "Master, don't be angry. We can just catch them all in one swoop." He did not turn his head, only advising, "Tiansheng, go once." The white ape now possessed formidable strength, developing its bloodline step by step at an extraordinary pace, not to be viewed with a human perspective. 2 years ago, the white ape could oppose the White Mist Realm, and now even more so. After years of dormancy, it's time for the white ape to gradually emerge. Not everyone can remain completely low-key. Appropriately showcasing its ability will be beneficial for its future cultivation. Taoist Longshan's gaze had a hint of curiosity, but he said nothing, slightly anticipating instead. Delight flickered in the white ape's eyes as it understood Ning Qi's intent. "Yes, teacher." With that, it strode away eagerly, already a bit restless. In the distance, all the Gang Essence Realm experts had finished their tests. Of the more than 100 Gang Essence Realm experts, only 30-some remained, including 1 Primordial Core Realm and 7 or 8 Jade Liquid Realm individuals. The eliminated White Mist Realm martial artists appeared somewhat chagrined, but seeing those remaining, they knew they were simply not as skilled. Luo Wentian consoled, "You are all talents, but unfortunately, our true martial sect lacks the foundation to support so many powerful ones. Otherwise, we would welcome you all into our sect. For those who didn't make it this time, our true martial sect will still offer a martial arts scripture as a token of appreciation for traveling such a long distance to honor us with your presence. Why not stay and watch the completion of this examination before descending the mountain?" With these words, everyone was momentarily stunned, then felt quite pleased. Regardless of the martial arts level, the true martial sect had shown tremendous respect by doing this. Everyone responded, "Sect leader Luo is too kind." And those who passed the examination smiled even wider. Imagine this. If the true martial sect is so generous to those eliminated, how could they lack resources in martial arts for those who successfully join? As long as they remain dedicated, they will surely be rewarded. This small gesture inadvertently further elevated the true martial sect's prestige in everyone's eyes. Luo Wentian turned to everyone and said, "Now that you all have passed the first stage, only the second stage remains. If you can pass the Heart Inquiry platform, you will become our true martial disciples." This was addressed not only to the Gang Essence Realm martial artists who passed the Mechanical Beings array. It was also spoken to the children who ascended the Heaven Ascending ladder. The first stage differed between the two, but the second stage is the same. For this examination, Luo Wentian didn't intend to have 7 or 8 rounds. It would be meaningless.
Hello, everyone. As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500+ novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.